everyone, welcome to a special Thursday edition of GameFace on Sifted Games at Sifted.net, episode 180 coming at you. I know we've been doing the show typically on Tuesdays, but I was away for Labor Day weekend and couldn't do the show Tuesday. But we didn't want to wait too long to do a show because there's all kinds of games coming out.
Yeah, honestly, probably better to wait till today because we got the direct in yesterday.
Yep, absolutely. So we're doing a show today, obviously, and we're also going back to our normal time on Tuesday. And the good news is there's plenty of games to talk about for Tuesday as well. Yeah. So we are rocking and rolling.
We are officially September.
It is. We're in Q4. Thank God. Summer was so tough, man. Somehow we did shows every week, though. We made it work. But now we have tons of games to talk about, which makes our show all the better. A couple notes before we get going. There is a lot of construction going on at Sifted.net right now. Some of you guys, I'm sure, have realized it, figured it out. There are some issues, some glitches going on. There's all this work going on in the back end. I do want to say, though, I think you guys are going to be very pleasantly surprised by all the changes coming to the site. In fact, I would argue that maybe you don't even recognize the site at first when we roll everything out. There are big changes coming. Some fundamental changes to how the site works even. I am really excited about the stuff that's going on. Brent has been busting his tail. He's already rolled out a bunch of stuff, but again, it's all kind of under the hood. It was great to see our Patreon shoot up. So I want to thank all you guys for going and pledging when you realized that you were getting our content for free. We had our best month on Patreon in like over a year this month. Now I'll say this. It turned over, and then we lost a lot of it again. I don't know why. I figured a lot of people joined that were like, oh, I just got cut off, and I enjoy the content. But then a lot of people bailed when the month turned over. Maybe they'll come back. I don't know. But
a lot of people will like do their pledges on Patreon like month to month.
Yeah.
So like they'll pledge for whatever they want to pay for that month, and then they'll undo the pledge, and near the end of the month they will repledge if they decide that's what they want to spend their Patreon budget for the month on.
Yeah. No matter what, though, thank you guys. A lot of you guys have signed up, or you've started paying again after you weren't paying for a while. And again, I don't think most of you guys were doing it on purpose. I think you just used Sifted for our content and just had no idea that you weren't paying. So thanks to you guys for jumping on there. It's a huge help for us. Unlike a lot of the other big gaming Patreons, they go up or down maybe thousands of dollars a month, and it doesn't even matter to them. Every dollar does matter to us. So thank you guys very much. Thanks to everybody who's doing Twitch Prime, Neo JD, Axel F 1986, Talika 1981. Thanks all you guys for subscribing via Twitch Prime. Axel 23 months, Talika 25 months. Thanks. It means the world to me. So big stuff is going on, man. Sifted, as far as when we're going to be rolling all that stuff out, it's basically a 3-month plan. So maybe I shouldn't be talking about it too much, and that's why I haven't given up a lot of details, is because it's going to take a couple months to get all this done.
I don't even know any of this.
Yeah, actually, he doesn't. Like, I haven't told Matt like a lot of the stuff that's happening with it yet, because Brent has a day job.
So you're getting nothing out of me.
That's right. Brent has a day job, and he can only get so much done, and he does most of his work on the weekends for Sifted. So I don't want to announce stuff, and you guys get all excited and then have it take like 2 months for it to show up. But trust me when I tell you, we're almost going to be like relaunching the site here in a couple months. Like, it's going to be that different. So really excited about that. Really excited about Q4 being here. Hopefully you guys are too. The money spending season is here for games, where I guess the bulk of our audience spend probably 80% of their money in the next few months. And we're going to be here to guide you through it to make sure you spend your money intelligently. So let's get on with episode 180. One more thing I should add. We do have beta codes for the Ghost Recon Breakpoint beta that's going down this weekend. It's a closed beta, so you can't get in unless you have a hookup like us. We have a couple extra codes that we're going to be giving away at the end of the show during the Q&A. Matt and I are going to give you guys a couple quiz topics, and whoever answers first in the chat will get the codes. I know that kind of sucks because it's basically a Google race. But if some of you guys do know the answers off the top of your head, you'll probably win. So have a couple codes to give away at the end of the show, and then maybe we can jump on and play Breakpoint together over the weekend. And with that, let's get on with 180. We're going to kick things off with a game. Before we did our last episode, the reviews had come out. The game hadn't come out yet. The game is out now, and it's a Switch exclusive. It's called Astral Chain, developed by Platinum Games, published by Nintendo, and like I said, a Switch exclusive. At least for now, it's not coming to any other platforms. I'm guessing.
I think it's published by Nintendo, so I don't think it's coming anywhere else.
Yeah, so probably permanently a Switch exclusive. This game, if you looked at the reviews that came out before the game came out, you probably think it's a Game of the Year candidate. Just looking at score alone, and looking honestly across the rest of this year, there haven't been a lot of games scoring in that high 8, low 9 range.
Yeah, including Gears of War now.
Yeah. What is its Metacritic right now?
Like 85, last I looked.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but it's below what I was expecting.
Definitely below what I needed for my fantasy team to have a chance.
Yeah, it's definitely lower than you'd like from a second pick. But then again, my first pick was Anthem, so like this is an off year in the fantasy league.
Yeah, absolutely. But so anyway, since the last show, I have spent a good bit of time with Astral Chain. So has Matt, and we want to discuss it. Let's start by sharing the plot of this game. It's such as it is. It's a little convoluted and goofy, to say the least. Basically, you're future cops, and there are these creatures called the Chimera.
Yeah, they're basically demons.
Yeah.
Invading from the astral plane, and they've destroyed basically the whole planet. And the last bastion of humanity is this like island called the Ark. And you are part of a special police division called Neuron that is especially equipped to fight them. The opening scene is actually a direct Neon Genesis Evangelion homage, let's call it.
Quote, unquote.
Because what they've done is they've summoned this, and this is actually, that was a shot from it where they're summoning these demons and capturing them in like this armor that like lets them put what's called the Astral Chain on them and control them. And that's what they use to fight back, which is literally what the Evangelion units are, more or less.
Yep.
And the opening scene shows them, they summon the thing, they stick the armor on it, and it attacks the viewing booth and is like trying to break through the glass of the viewing booth while the older scientist with glasses on stands rigidly still and grins while pushing his glasses up as the thing tries to kill him,
and it's like all the
techs frantically try to shut it down, right? And I'm just like, okay, so he's Gendo, like we get it,
yeah.
And that's pretty much where the similarities more or less end. But like they're very much that you can see that's that scene right there they just show. They're very much quoting that kind of thing to the point that one of the first colors you unlock to customize your Legion is literally EVA Unit 1 purple and green.
It is, yeah.
So basically that's how that works. And you pick male or female character. You are both twins who are the adoptive children of Captain Max, the guy who runs the squad in Neuron that has the legions on the chains. Right. So they're the special force group, the whole Neuron group supports, and they go in with these legions, and having the legion lets you like see the Chimera, the monsters, and then they go and punch them until they die. And and whichever one it's weird actually, whichever one of these characters you pick, the other one is still in the game, but the other one becomes the one who talks. Right. Because your character doesn't talk. It's silent. It's really which is bizarre because clearly they recorded lines for both characters. Yeah. So why don't you both just talk? I'm really over the silent protagonist thing. Yeah. The other thing I will note is you can customize your character however you want at the locker and change it. But if you customize the other character you don't pick in the character select screen before you start the game, they will look like that in the game. Yeah. So you can, if you want to customize both of them, it will matter.
And all the cinematics are real time, so you actually see those changes.
Which is
cinematics.
Nice. And basically, as with a lot of Platinum games, the real meat of the game doesn't start for a few missions, because you get a couple missions where everything you think this is the status quo.
Well, and then actually the motorcycle racing, shooting.
not as big a part of the game as the trailer would have you believe. Yeah. But very early on, something happens, and it ends up that your character is the only one who now has a Legion. So. And that's when like all the upgrade stuff and everything opens up, and suddenly you're the most important person in the world. And that's sort of like where the game really finally kicks off is like, okay, you're the only one who can do this, and like we've lost the other legions, so like the implication is obviously that you're going to have to get them all back. And very early on in the early missions, you see things you can't interact properly with because you don't have the right kind of legion.
Yep.
So obviously you're going to collect all the other legions.
I mean, it's platinum Pokemon,
right?
Pokeplat. Yeah. That's what I've been calling it.
But that's the basic premise. It's real bog standard like supernatural sci-fi anime stuff.
It's very rote.
It is. I mean, I like the concept. I like in principle just because it's basically the same idea as Ghostbusters.
It is.
Like science versus... It's basically science versus supernatural,
yeah.
which I do think is a compelling premise. But so much of it is just so bizarre. And just everyone's like a stock like archetype anime character, and like it's real by the numbers in that regard.
Yeah,
but you're not really at a platinum game for the story.
Yeah, I would say if you like to play games because of their stories, this one's not going to get it done.
Yeah, it's not going to change your mind. It's you're here for the gameplay or you're not here.
Yep. And so you play as these cops, and the Legion are basically Pokemon. They even come in these little dinky cubes instead of Pokeballs, and you collect them as you go. And you can level them up.
You can upgrade them and add different abilities and add, like, customize their appearance and change their colors. Like, when you come back from a mission, you have to, like, scrub them clean.
Yeah.
Because, like, they get corruption on them, and you have to, like, clean them off, and then they, like, dance around and, like, are happy. Which is funny.
And you use them to collect corruption as well.
Yeah. You have to, like, clean up corruption, which you get a lot of bonus points for.
Which are just, like, these things on the ground.
Yeah, it's like kind of almost currency, I guess.
Yeah.
But you have to clean them up with a Legion. So the way the base gameplay of the Legion works is like, so you see like the characters just running around like a normal person hitting things with a stick. Once you get your Legion, you can summon the Legion, and the Legion
with the left trigger.
Yeah, which isn't the Legion's not directly under your control. They're semi-autonomous, but they're on the Astral Chain, so it's like a leash. They can't get away. And you can use like left trigger to send them at your target. They'll rush at your target. You can hold the left trigger and move the right stick around. You can direct them around, which is how
when
clean
you do
stuff
that,
up.
You're basically standing still.
Yeah, you have to stand still, so you have to choose your moments. You can also use that to like, there's all these like combination moves. So like, if you move the Legion out to a certain place, and then while you're holding it left trigger, you hit right trigger, and he will pull you to him like a super jump, because there is no jump button.
Yeah, there is.
Oddly enough,
yeah.
It feels strangely immobile in that regard for a platinum game, but you can get some Z-axis action with the Legion cooperation.
Yeah, like you can send your Legion into the air to attack airborne enemies. Yeah. And in fact, that's pretty much what you have to do.
Yeah, and there's like sync attacks where if like a flash happens, you hit the right trigger. It's left trigger, and you'll do like a team up attack with the Legion. And there's various combos and stuff you can do that will will intentionally set that kind of a sync combo up.
Then there's the tethering. So once you squeeze the left trigger and you're kind of stationary, but you're controlling the Legion with the right analog stick, you can circle the Legion around an enemy, and it will wrap them in a chain and tether them to the ground. And that's your chance to kind of jump in and do more damage while they're incapacitated. You can also use like the chain as like a garrote,
like a clothesline.
Yeah,
like there's a lot of cool tricks they pull with a chain. Like if someone's gonna because like with a lot of platinum games, the enemies like telegraph their moves.
Yeah,
and if you see one of them's about to charge you, you basically like have your Legion like spread out from you and like set the chain up in their path, and they'll like get clotheslined by the chain. You pull it back and then like flings them back to where they came from, and that stuns them and usually lets you get a lot of free hits on them.
But that's pretty much the whole combat
and there's like,
system.
And there's like stuff where like you can for the super jump, you can like wrap it around like a corner, and like the chain around a corner, and you will like change direction. You can wrap the chain around enemies, and you hit the attack button, and you'll like zoom to each enemy and whack them once.
Yep,
it's a good way to get out of like a corner or something.
You also have to manage. This game kind of has a stamina bar.
Yeah, the Legion can only be out so long.
And you can call it back by tapping the R1 button, I think it is.
Yeah, the R1 button.
And he'll just dissolve. Yeah. And there is some strategy involved, because enemies don't just attack you. They also attack your Legion. Yeah. And if you let your Legion lose all of its stamina, then you have to wait for the whole meter to fill before you use it again. And you definitely feel like a fish out of water when you don't have your Legion.
Yeah, you are not equipped to fight these guys alone. Really. You have to manage the Legion. That's also one of the reasons to clean up the corruption is it overcharges your Legion stamina bar to like 200%.
Yeah.
So like it gives you more time to have the Legion out. The other thing you can do is each Legion type has a specific special move. With like I'm playing as I don't know I think the guy Akira has a bow type.
Yep.
And so the girl has a sword type, and her Legion. That's how I'm playing.
Oh, there's also guns. We didn't mention that.
She has guns. Like
you have a gun as a character.
Switch your baton between a baton and a gun, and then very early on you can change it into a sword. Like you can upgrade that to get more modes for your this weapon that can change form. I much prefer the sword mode. Like I
usually use sword.
The baton mode is like real short range and feels like a training wheels sort of thing. And then like the special moves, like you basically can freeze time and you can use it to either counter attacks or like interact with the environment and cut like new paths through things and stuff. And like the dog type can like dig through trash and uncover new things or new routes or new items. And there's like every Platinum game, they expect you to go back to the same missions over and over and over and over and over.
If you play on the Platinum difficulty setting, then you get grades for each mission.
There's no grades on like casual, which is what it starts you on. And to be fair, you can't even play above that until you finish the mission. It unlocks Platinum difficulty stuff. As you unlock each mission, you're supposed to go back and do it again. So it has the requisite Platinum grinding in play. And that becomes prevalent real fast. Like early on, you're like, oh, these upgrades aren't that much. Like, oh no, like you're gonna need to if you don't want to like just like fly through the game like barely on the cusp of as powerful as you need to be, like you're gonna need to go back and do a lot of grinding, which I think people expect from Platinum's games. So that's not a surprise. But I don't like it very much. So here we are.
What surprises you the most about this game, Matt?
The thing that surprises me the most about this game is how easy it is for me to put it down.
Oh, really?
I mean, I can't quite pinpoint why I am not hooked by this game because almost everything in it feels like it should hook me. But between missions, it's so easy for me to just walk away from it. Yeah. I don't know what it's weirdly less than the sum of its parts.
I don't feel like the combat system is compelling me to keep playing.
I think the combat system has a lot of cool stuff in it, but I don't, and this might just be because I haven't played enough to figure it out properly, but I don't feel the flow that I get from so many other Platinum games. I feel like you're
stop and go, and I don't like the fact
that because your character is very sluggish.
We also stand still while you're using the Legion, when you're using kind of the chain mechanics. Like you're just a sitting duck there.
Yeah, it feels like they took like a lot of mechanics from a normal Platinum game and split them up between you and the Legion. And it just feels like it puts a barrier between you and the gameplay. I actually kept thinking about Donkey Kong 64 of all things.
Interesting.
Because Donkey Kong 64 annoyed me because it felt like they took Banjo-Kazooie and just split Banjo's moves up among 5 characters for no good reason. And that is
true. Yeah.
And like
that's true.
It just felt like this busy work to get to switch between each group of moves. And I kept thinking about that playing this where I'm like, God, I wish I could just do I wish I was just the Legion.
Yep.
I wish the Legion could, and like there's like, there's sync things where like you can like kind of work in tandem. Like that's the point of your character is like you are more synced with your Legion than like anyone else has ever been. Another Evangelion trope. Yeah. But like I don't know. Like I'm only like 6 or 7 missions in. But first off, that's longer than you think because there's a lot of between mission downtime and a lot of like investigation stuff.
Yeah, you go back to the base.
Like somebody really liked the Batman Arkham games.
Yeah.
Because like they're like, oh, let's put some detective work
in. Like when I said stop and go, I was talking about the combat, but I was also talking about the mission design. Because the investigative stuff to me is just throwaway. And you have to do a lot of it. You have to go, there's like you can hit the plus button and it's puts on this vision that lets you see
iris vision.
The iris vision that lets you see things that you couldn't see before. Like you have to track like a chimera in one mission using it, but it also like highlights things that you can't see, like things that happened in the past, and you can walk up and it helps you. It gives you clues to help solve.
It's very much like the detective mode stuff in Arkham, except really, really stripped down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not a big fan of that stuff.
I am, and I still think this is boring.
I mean, I liked it in Batman, but it was better in Batman.
Oh, yeah.
Here, like you said, it's very simple here, and there's just not enough depth to it to make me feel like I want to do it. But what surprised me the most about this game is the production values. Now, I agree with you. I do not like the art style. I think the characters in this game just look weird. But holy cow, like as far as like the cinematics and the animation and everything, Platinum, this is like one of its most impressive games, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the art style all that much, but I do think visually it's frankly, it's one of the better looking Switch games.
It is, absolutely. Like technically, yeah. I mean, and just the time that they put into doing the real-time cinematics. I mean, the whole thing.
Also,
like
not a single bit of slowdown.
Oh yeah, it runs like crazy.
Tons of stuff happening on the screen.
Yep.
Tons of characters running around. You can see. I mean, this is like the first major fight.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 or 5 characters running around. There's all this fire effect, and like none of it hitches ever.
Nope.
Like I mean, Platinum has no tolerance for frame rate drops. It's really well done from a technical standpoint.
I mean, the first few hours of this game is just nonstop. It
Yeah.
is just cinematic, crazy action sequence, combat, crazy cinematic, and it all just flows.
Yeah, big
There
boss
aren't-
stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it
There aren't that many Nintendo exclusives that are like this game. I hate to say it, but it's true.
I mean, also like Platinum kind of makes their own thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could compare this in certain ways to Bayonetta.
Yeah.
I mean, the dodging mechanic is roughly the same with the slowdown time. I mean, that's the standard Platinum dodge mechanic. But there's a lot more kind of going on in terms of what they're trying to do with this than I mean, Bayonetta is pretty much what you play the first level, you've kind of got it down. This feels like it evolves more.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
But like it still doesn't quite like make me want to keep playing all the time. I can't. I'm not really sure why. Like I don't know. Like everyone else seems to be like super like into this thing, and like I find it really easy to walk away after a couple of missions.
I've been now that I've played it, I'm really surprised at how high the review scores were for this game.
I haven't actually looked at what.
Oh, they're like high 8s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like some people gave it like higher than that, but I think it's settled in at like a mid to high 8 Metacritic. I feel like Platinum's getting a little bit of a
platinum boost.
yeah, definitely. And look, there are some people that actually that absolutely love Platinum's games.
And if you love games like this, pretty much they're the only game in town.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, except like Devil May Cry 5 was about the only other thing like that's been out this year.
Which do you like more, that or this?
Oh,
it's tough. I was thinking about it last night. I'm like, which game is better, the new DMC or Astral Chain?
I think I like the gameplay in Devil May Cry better, but I find this less obnoxious somehow.
Yeah, I think this world and plot are more interesting.
Yeah.
But Devil May Cry doesn't suffer from that start-stop syndrome like this game
Devil May
does.
Cry just goes.
Yep.
This, I feel, gives me too many opportunities to be like, wait, I think I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
I think that's a common Platinum. I don't like Platinum stop-and-go structure that happen, especially because like so many of them is not Bayonetta so much. I think Bayonetta's balances pretty well in that regard. But so many of because they rely so heavily on rating you, like giving you a grade on things, they kind of all their stuff is sort of divided into discrete mission chunks. And once you stop everything down and make me pick a next mission to continue, it's real easy for me to
You're
walk
giving
away.
me the chance.
You're giving me the opportunity to think about what I'm doing, and like maybe I'll walk away. Like if you just, Devil May Cry still does the rating system, but it like keeps it. The flow is there. The story's still going. You have to choose to stop.
Yep.
And I think some Platinum games I keep playing because I really like playing them and I want to play more. But if a Platinum game isn't hooking me in that regard, and this one really didn't in that regard, it's way too easy for me to just quit.
I just think it was a weird decision to. I mean, look, you have to use the Legion to make progress in the game, and it's just, to me, it's weird that Platinum chose to make something like that so prevalent when you really don't have full control over it. Mm-hmm. It's like once you squeeze that left trigger and you're controlling the Legion with your right, like you can send him exactly where you want. But as far as when he attacks, how he attacks, that's all kind of automated. Which it just seems a little weird that they would lean on it.
I think that's kind of the point. I mean, I can definitely see the sort of the idea being like, well, you've played Platinum games with Platinum Combat before, but let's see how you do when like you can't like you don't have full control over it. Like there hasn't really been a point where I felt like the Legion wasn't doing what I needed it to do, and like that I like was failing because the Legion wasn't behaving properly. I think it's just they're doing it that way because it's kind of a logical progression of like a new form of challenge in this style of gameplay. Whether you like that or not, I think is going to determine how much you prefer sort of a standard action game versus like we're gonna mess with this and see what happens.
It is a little bit when you're controlling the Legion. It is a little bit of left brain, right brain thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're trying to like pat your tummy and tap your head at the same time, or as some other people say, like chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. It takes a little while to get used to.
I will say I am a little surprised. Like, they're giving credit to like some of the Nier Automata stuff here. It does not feel like it's written by the same people.
No, definitely not.
Like Nier Automata is so far beyond this
it's not
narratively.
Even in the same league.
That's an example of a Platinum game that hooked me and never let me go.
Yeah.
I'm
surprised actually that the same people wrote this.
Although early on in Nier, some of the open world stuff can lull to the point that you just sort of like turn it off.
No, you're right. Yeah.
But once I push through more of that, like I wanted to find out what happened next. I want to find out what happened to these characters, like that kind of thing. And
I would say Nier starts a lot more slowly than this.
Oh, it does for sure.
Yeah.
Although
this does get you into
if
it
you
right
die
away.
in the opening mission, you will not have to replay 20 minutes of the same tutorial. So if you were frustrated by that in Nier, you won't run into that here.
Yeah, this game gets you into it a lot more seamlessly. It got me engaged in it, but then you're right, how it's kind of all segmented together. And to be fair, Devil May Cry's that way as well.
Yeah.
Like you get your letter grade and you kind of get that opportunity to take a breath and
here's
make a decision.
my hot take. I hate being letter graded in these games because I don't care.
Because it just seems so random what you have to do to get. It's like it doesn't always seem to reward the most impressive play. It rewards a very specific series of events.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like in games like this, I prefer the challenge to be surviving.
Yeah,
and not like playing it properly,
stylishly, or
right?
how they want you to play it.
And and that combined with the fact that like the rating system means that you have to stop it down. Between, I mean, even when they went backwards compatible, I replayed the Ninja Gaiden games, and even those games, despite how much I loved both Ninja Gaiden games, not 3, but
I think everyone's with you on that
despite
one.
how much I loved those games, it was annoying me when they'd stop down between levels in those.
Yep, it gives you that chance to take a breath and consider your options.
Yeah,
that's really what it does.
like you're not like you need to manipulate me emotionally more effectively. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like someone who's trying to sell me microtransactions wouldn't do this.
You're right.
Like it's. I wonder if that's part of it. Is like I've gotten so used to that constant like carrot on the stick
they just
mentality
never stop
design
now. Yeah.
that the fact that these guys haven't adopted that feels weird now to me.
I mean, this game feels like an old game in design in a lot of ways.
It would, except for the technical stuff going on. This could be on the PS2.
Yeah, I mean, it's all linear. Like there's one way to go. There's a couple branching. It's just like Devil May Cry. It's this cattle chute that you're constantly forced to go down.
Yeah. And it's not like those games shouldn't exist. There should be room for those, and here it is. And clearly it's being received very well. It's selling well. It's number 2 on the Switch store, behind a music game called Zotic.
Oh, really?
But the reason it's behind, I think it begins with an X. I can't remember exactly what it is because the font's weird. I think it's Zotic or something. But the reason that game is number 1 is because it's on sale for 97% off and it's 87 cents or something like that. And actually, it's pretty good.
I think this game beat Control in the UK. I think it outsold Control.
I think it did. It was funny. There was a thread on Reset Era about like what will sell more, Control or Astral Chain. And most people were saying like Control's a multi-platform game, it's going to sell more. And I mean I never contribute to those things. I just read them.
Yeah.
But like I'm a lurker. But like I like was like I think Astral Chain might. I mean, do not underestimate the ability of the Switch to just move volume of software.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and also do not underestimate Remedy and its ability to undersell a game that should be selling
Remedy's
more.
games never sell.
They don't.
They just don't. I don't know what it is. It was a topic I wanted to bring up on today's High Score, our call-in show. But it was always at the bottom of the list. And that show, like, we never make it through the whole list of topics because we just end up going off on tangents and we talk about each topic a long time. But yeah, I'm flummoxed by the lack of sales for Remedy's games, particularly like its good ones.
Yeah, but like
Quantum Break, I could kind of understand that. It got lukewarm reviews. Control, which we're going to talk about again here in a minute.
Also, again, Quantum Break was an exclusive on a system that is dead last.
That was at the time really floundering too. Like Microsoft has kind of turned it around a little bit. At that point in time, like Xbox One was like dead in the water.
Yeah, it was definitely a bad time for that. Also, I mean, just what they were trying to lean on for star power wasn't.
Right.
And It would be like making an app out of Jeremy Renner. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So would you this is a full price game. Would you recommend people buy it at full price? Platinum fans, I think, yeah.
I mean, Platinum fans, sure. I mean, the other thing is, like, it's hard to kind of make that distinction on a Nintendo exclusive because that price ain't dropping anytime soon.
For a long time,
like,
yeah.
If you want to play this in the next year, 2 years, you're probably going to pay $60 for it.
Yeah.
Unless you find it, like, physically somewhere for, like, a markdown, but why would you, really? I mean, these games don't drop. Like, I mean, frankly, if you know what you're getting into with a Platinum game and this looks interesting to you, go ahead. Like, I think if you're interested by what you see, and you've played Platinum games before and you know how they roll, like, you're gonna like it. For me, Platinum is honestly, I might call Platinum the most overrated developer in gaming right now. I don't find them to be that compelling. I think they're the same thing over and over again. As much as I like that same thing when it's done a certain way, Bayonetta, or Transformers Devastation. I can only play so much of it.
Yeah.
And, like, I do feel like I played a better, stylish action game earlier this year in the form of Devil May Cry 5. So basically what is trying to drive me through this is the premise and the kind of unique mechanics. And while I'm not saying they're bad, they just aren't clicking with me so far.
I agree. I don't hate the combat. It just doesn't feel right to me. There's just something about it. It just feels a little disjointed, a little clunky.
I think this game suffers more from the stop and go issue than any other Platinum game I've ever played.
Yeah.
And
I mean, look, to me, it's way better than Transformers Devastation.
Yeah, there's more depth to the combat for sure. There's more than 3 locations. Like, that was a very shallow game to me in most respects. Like, the production value here is infinitely better.
This is one of the, like, as far as production values go, this is one of the best Switch games.
Yeah, no question.
I mean, it's the way it's put together. It's very slick. You can tell that Platinum was given a lot of budget and a lot of time to make this game.
And a lot of support.
Yep, and a lot of support from Nintendo. It runs great. It looks great. And
honestly, there's nothing else like it on the system until Bayonetta 3.
I guess what I would say is if you're a Switch-only owner, or even if you do have other platforms and you didn't get the most recent Devil May Cry, I would recommend that you buy it. Mm-hmm. You know what you're getting into with a Platinum game.
Like, I'm not sorry I bought it, even though it's not hooking me the way I
wouldn't have
hoped.
regretted buying it either.
No.
I don't know if I'll finish it, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
And for me, with my limited time, it's like,
well, also because like these Platinum games tend to be longer than you think they are.
They are, yeah. And I can generally tell for me because my time is so limited for playing games. I have all this other stuff that I have to do for the site. If I don't finish a game, to me, that's not a Game of the Year candidate. A Game of the Year candidate pulls
finish you all the way through.
I will finish it. Yep. And this game, I don't, unless there's some kind of a twist or something that happens in the very near future, I don't know that I see myself getting all the way through.
The idea that this would be a Game of the Year candidate to someone is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
To me. Like it's so one.
I mean, I don't want to say their opinions wrong.
Yeah, but it's just like it's very one note and like. It would have to be like if I was picking like a space sim,
right?
If I was picking Rebel Galaxy Outlaw as my Game of the Year, like that would just be because this is my preferred.
This is
genre,
what I like,
basically.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then this is a no-brainer. But for someone who like enjoys this type of game, but like would prefer to be playing against a human and not in terms of a fisticuff situation and not a grading system, it's not as compelling to me.
Yep.
Also, I find the demon design to be just the art style is not good.
I can't. It moves so fast that I can't make anything out. Everything's all shiny and
I just
neon
don't like the usual spiky chitinous demon design. It just looks like every other anime demon thing ever.
No, it does.
Like, it's just and all the.
It looks a little bit like Zone of the Ender, Zoe.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I get what they're going for. I like the kind of the tech. Like the high-tech, sleek look of the legions versus the kind of organic, kind of gross, like everything's made of bone and slime thing of the demons. But like, it just feels real done before.
Yeah.
Especially because we already played a game like this earlier this year that had demons that looked way more interesting than these guys.
For sure.
In Devil May Cry 5, and like it's not fair to compare something to Devil May Cry 5 all the time, but I feel like Platinum has the imagination to do it on that level, and it's just not there.
Yeah. I will say this. I was pleasantly surprised by it. Like, I don't know if you remember, but at E3, in our post E3 discussions, this was one of the big risers for me. Mm-hmm. And because I was like, oh, wow. Like, I really had no idea until I, like, got to check it out, like, what kind of a game it was. And I'm pleasantly surprised by it now that I'm playing the final game, how polished it is, the budget that was put into it, the effort that went into it. But ultimately, I would, if I had to finish this, I think I would be dragging myself across the finish line.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's Astral Chain.
Especially because so many other things are about to hit.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
so you start talking about just on Switch even. So if you're only a Switch owner, there's so many big games that are coming. Yeah. Think about it before you jump on this. Mm-hmm. If you haven't bought it.
There's stuff that came out yesterday that's more compelling to me than this, and one of them's terrible.
Yeah. Well,
but I downloaded the shit out of that when they announced it. I was like, yeah, I want to play that. I don't want to play this Astral Chain thing anymore. I want to play a terrible game from 2010. Yeah. And it's for $30. Like I am officially a Switch owner now. I have bought a game I already own twice on two other more powerful platforms, but I bought it again to buy it again to play it again.
Yeah,
that's how they get you.
Yep, it is. So that's Astral Chain,
to that.
Switch exclusive, full price game. I think we recommend it if you like platinum stuff.
Yeah.
If not, maybe watch like a little bit of a Let's Play.
Yeah,
I've
definitely watched Ninja play it for a while before you make your decision. But like, I mean, even with my kind of like lukewarm response to it, like I'm still glad I played it. I'm still glad I have it. I will probably dip back into it periodically at slow periods during the fall release schedule. I would certainly rather play this than Call of Duty. So like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I will probably finish it eventually. I don't know if I'll finish it in time for our Game of the Year show.
Yeah.
But it's a game I think I will go back to periodically.
You are one of those players who does go back and finish stuff, even months after you last touched it.
Well, you know what I actually went back and started a new game of this week is Yakuza 0.
Really?
Because now that they've, they announced the collection and they're putting the 3, 4, and 5 remakes out between now and, 3 came out the day of. Love the shadow dropping going on these days, guys. Yeah. Just so you know. Yeah. Love that shit. And then, 4 and 5 are coming out. They'll all be out by February. You will have the whole Yakuza series on PS4. I'm going to go through the whole thing again.
And I'm sure you saw the news that the new Yakuza is going to be a turn-based RPG.
Yeah, I mean, that was the April Fool's joke earlier this year.
It's real.
It turns out it's real.
Yeah.
I admit I'm a little, on that. But at the same time, like, if I really want to fight guys in the streets of Kamurocho, I have 7 games.
You've done it.
7 games to do that in, plus the spin-offs. Really, the big thing for me is that they have hinted that they are not dismissing the idea of bringing over the samurai era games.
Right. Yeah.
Ishin and at least the most recent one where literally it's Kazuma as a samurai.
His Judgment just came and went without
It did. I mean, Yakuza fans like it, but it's just one of those things where it's like, who has the time?
Review scores were gigantic.
I haven't even played it.
I haven't either. I haven't touched it. I haven't booted it up.
And the other thing, there's the Yakuza effect where I'm like, I look at it and it's like, oh, I don't have time for that.
I can see where this is headed.
It's like, oh no. You say you're going to play for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're managing 14 acres of real estate and trying to get a girl to be the best hostess in the club, and 14 hours have passed, and you're like, oh, I don't know what happened to me.
That's
that. It happened to me in Yakuza 0. Just like this week, I've been doing the real estate mini game for hours and hours, and I've been literally I will collect the payouts and fight the guys to keep the things going, to keep my properties, and I'll go back and start the collection again, and I'll switch to Astral Chain and play that for 10 minutes and switch back to see if my payouts are ready. I'm playing both at the same time, but because the Yakuza real estate simulator basically requires you to sit around and do other things, and instead of going around and doing other things in Yakuza 0, I'm going around playing other games on other systems.
Now you're imposing the start-stop on your own.
Yes.
You're making it worse.
Yeah. Well, that's a mini game though. It's not the whole. If you want to play through that's the funny thing is playing through the whole story of a Yakuza game without stopping for sub stories is fascinating to me because it's a totally different game.
Oh yeah.
Kiryu is a completely different character in the side stuff than he is in the main stuff. In the main story, he is basically a celibate virgin.
Right.
And in the side stuff, he's scoring left and right, and he's hanging out with kids at the bowling alley, and he owns a chicken, and he does pocket car racing, and
Right,
you got me.
yeah.
I mean,
Far more interesting.
There's like 2 levels of canon to Yakuza. There's like the version of the story if you just go through the main story, and there's the version where he not only does the stuff in the story, but he's also like this incredibly involved member of the community who knows everyone young to old, has helped everyone with their finances, like owns the entire city when he's 20. Like
Right.
it's like the 2 different Kiryus would. A, they're incompatible, and B, they probably wouldn't like each
They would
other
hate
very
each
much.
other,
Like,
absolutely, yeah.
it's a fascinating dichotomy, and so that's actually, because I've already played them. That's actually what I want to do when I do my full playthrough, because I was messing with the real estate stuff to have money. But I kind of want to just go through the stories and without doing any side stuff and see how that flows, because I've never done that. I've always played.
You don't play games
completionist.
that way, man.
No, I've always played Yakuza, especially completionist.
Yeah, I mean, you're like that with pretty much everything you play.
I am, but Yakuza especially.
Yeah.
Like, even no matter how dumb and, I mean, I've learned to play mahjong and shogi and all these like weird, just because like they're in the game, and I gotta get the completion point. Like, it's just that game has made me learn things that I normally would never have done just to like get through it.
That can be good.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Depends on what you're learning. But
well, when 10 years from now, when the fate of the planet hangs in the balance of a shogi game,
I'll
you
be
know
there.
who to call.
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Final Fantasy VIII. Would you call it like the redheaded stepchild of Final Fantasy?
In a sense, I mean, I would call it the worst Final Fantasy on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
It's aggressively stupid, but like
Aggressively stupid.
it has one of the dumbest twists I've ever seen in a story. Not in a story, period.
Not just games.
Not just games, not just comics, not just movies, not just
books.
all time. I'm like, that is the dumbest twist I've ever seen. Like, I'm not going to get into it here. I mean, just in case you haven't played it, you should experience how dumb this twist is on your own.
No spoilers here on GameFace.
But I will say that I do like the way it plays a little more than 7. The junction system is dumb, but it also lets you abuse the game in ways that like even the materia system doesn't let you do.
So have they not tweaked that for this?
Not that, as far as I can tell, this is a straight remaster. I don't think
Oh.
they've tweaked anything on this.
Oh, wow.
They sure as hell didn't tweak the pre-rendered backgrounds.
No, they didn't.
Holy crap,
That's
those
why
look bad.
The lower third says background check. 'Cause
Wow.
holy crap. Like, this game, even redone, looks
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't do much with renders. I mean, those are the you can
Those are
clean
the
them
renders.
up, but
Yeah.
that's I mean,
They were drawn
There's
at
a
that
reason
resolution.
Final Fantasy VII is being remade.
Yeah,
not
because
just
you can't
up-res.
just revive. Dude,
No.
the PlayStation 1 era games are they're just locked in time.
Yeah.
I mean, they really just do not have the legs that 2D games had.
No, I mean the 3D models in this look good. Like they're clean.
But they're
at
so
least.
weird because they're like
They don't fit the
they're
backgrounds
just like
at all.
pasted on top
Yeah.
of these blurry backgrounds. And then
Look at that! Like what
I
is he even
know.
sitting on?
I know.
Is it made of marble? Are those
I
supposed
mean,
to
just
be
look
like?
at these scenes.
Yeah.
And then the scaling. So when they're like walking off and they're supposed to be walking into the distance, like the scaling is all goofy and
Yeah.
weird.
I mean, it was always like that, but like it's
But
more
it
noticeable
is
now.
so much more noticeable now because you can actually see, and I think actually enhancing the character models may have been like a mistake. I just think it makes them stand out more than they did before from the background.
I mean, I don't know what else you can do. Like the old character models were horrible. Like there's the famous meme.
I
of,
mean,
like,
they were made out of like
best-
100 polygons.
There's a famous meme of like you're the best looking guy here, and it zooms in on the character model, and his face is just like this mess of triangles, and it doesn't. I
Yeah.
mean, it looks okay. I mean, against something like this when
Yeah,
everything's
the
real
battle
time, it looks
scenes,
fine.
it works okay, yeah.
But like, yeah, you better be ready for some weird ass background stuff.
I mean, the crazy part, too, is that even the CG stuff in this game looks worse than what...
Look at it! Oh, look at how it just went blurry there
Oh, yeah.
when it switched from the CG rendered cinematic to the background.
Yeah, it's a...
This is why I hate pre-rendered backgrounds, because no matter how good you think they are at the time, they will always age terribly.
Eventually, they will age poorly. Absolutely. I'm surprised to hear that they didn't make any tweaks to the actual design or the combat system.
As far as I know, this is the exact game. I might be wrong on that. I haven't really looked into it. But
you've been playing it.
I've been playing it, but I haven't played the original since it was new.
Since it came out.
And because you couldn't, because this game didn't exist. I mean, there was like a bad port on the PC, I think, that I don't have. But then like this was completely overlooked for the whole remaster flurry that Square did a few years ago, and this is like why it's a big deal that they finally remembered to do it. but like I will say, like, at the time I thought this was more engaging just because they were, first off, everybody looked like a person and didn't look like the weirdo. I mean, the character models in 7, I mean, everybody had 3 character models in 7. You had the CG model, you had the battle model, and you had the weird ass overworld model with the no mouth and no fingers and all that. I mean, the fact that they made everybody look like themselves in every scene in this was a major step up. I think like a lot of the tricks they were doing with the pre-rendered movies in the backgrounds, like with the battle between the gardens, where you're running around and like they move the camera and stuff like that, was pretty crazy at the time, just because the assumption at the time was if the backgrounds are pre-rendered, the camera's not moving.
Yep.
But Square found a way to do it with this that I thought, it's not as good as rendering it in full 3D like Silent Hill did, but it works and it looks good, and it was a nice way to kind of free things up and make things a little more dynamic. It was still they're still in the era where the stories of these games are so bad and dumb that I used to think that I missed something. I'm like, did I miss something?
Did I doze off during something important happened?
Why is it like, and like, I mean, even the one I like the best is actually 9, because it's more of a throwback to the old games with the job systems and stuff. But even that has a thing where like they drop Vivi's plot line like halfway through the game, and then they mention it like once after that, and like the last disc is about going after an enemy that was only mentioned for the first time at the end of the previous disc. Like, and you're sitting there like, what happened? Like, did I sleep through something? Like, it was that period where I'm like, is it complex, so that's why I don't understand it? Or is it just it's badly told, so I don't understand it because they're not communicating properly? And when I was younger, I thought, like, oh, I must have just missed something. And having replayed some of these stuff later, I'm like, oh, no, this is just terrible. Which is why, actually, I'm interested. The reason I'm most interested in the Final Fantasy VII Remake is to see if that story, when run through a modern form of localization and, like, storytelling and cinematic work, is more coherent than what was in the original English translation of that game, because a whole bunch of that is real weird.
J. Reed Vic 7 in chat is saying that Square Enix lost the source code for this, and therefore what they could do was limited.
Yeah, I mean, without having a full remake, and I don't.
How do you lose the source code of Final Fantasy VIII?
Same way you lose the source code of almost everything. Like, this is like the dirty little secret of Japanese development, especially back in the day. Nobody kept source code.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird.
Tons of source code is missing. And it's not just small. I mean, to me, Panzer Dragoon Saga is not a small thing because it's one of my favorite games of all time. But yeah, they lost that source code. They lost the source code. Rumored they lost the source code for Dragon Force, and that's why no one's ever remastered that damn thing. But yeah, that was just not the idea. And this is true of old movies too. Like, a lot of we maybe have 10 to 20% of like the early first 3 decades of movies that were ever made, because it never occurred to anybody that anyone would care, that there was any use for these things, or that anyone would ever want to see this stuff again. It's why there's missing Doctor Who episodes. Yeah, because the BBC just recorded over the masters because they thought they were aired, they were done, they were never. Who was ever going to care about this stupid show again? And like
they didn't have they definitely didn't see Netflix coming.
And so it becomes like an archival thing. The only reason we have a whole bunch, there's still like something like 60 missing Doctor Who episodes, and the only reason we still have a bunch of other ones that have been found is like they transferred a bunch of them to film to ship out to other countries to air in other countries, and they'll periodically someone will find like these film masters. They're not masters, but they're film transfers in other places that have been forgotten, and that's where they find these old episodes, and like that's the only reason anybody has those now. And it's fascinating because like the idea that you would want to archive what is creative work was alien at the time.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
And that was also sort of how games were treated, especially in Japan at the time. You would just think with
Square Enix how much money it made off of Final Fantasy VIII. It'd be like, yeah, we might probably want to keep this around.
It just was. I mean, but
or maybe it knew all along
but it was out.
That PS1 games were not going to hold up.
No, I mean, it would still have been an advantage to have the assets there.
Yeah, for sure.
It just wasn't a thing in their head. It wasn't the idea that you could re-release a game 12, 15 years later wasn't a thing because games hadn't been around that long. I mean, when this game came out, a 15-year-old game came out in 1983.
Right. It's like Atari 2600.
And there were Atari collections at the time, but they weren't like the big money that they are now. Like, no one could foresee that. Yeah. The idea was that like the game came out, you put it out on that system, it sold what it sold, and the game was done. Yeah. That was it. Especially with Final Fantasy games because, the whole gimmick was it's different every time. You never continue a Final Fantasy series, Final Fantasy game. 10-2 was a long way out at this point. And so like it's on one hand it's like crazy to think how short-sighted that was, but at the same time like it just wasn't how it worked. You know, it wasn't considered like a valid artistic like pursuit. Like it's why so many, if you look at those old 8-bit and 16-bit games from Japan, everyone's name in the credits is like a nickname or a code name because it wasn't.
They didn't care.
They didn't care, and also it wasn't considered like an upstanding thing to do as a job.
Yeah. People weren't concerned. They're like, I don't really want my name in the credits.
Look at Daigo. It took Daigo a long time to like use his full name because like he didn't want his family to be embarrassed that he played video games professionally.
Yeah.
Like it was a whole stigma for a long time.
Yep. Not anymore.
It's why for a long time we only knew the guy who did all the art for Street Fighter as Aki Man.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I can see why. I understand in the context of the time why the source code would have gone missing for something like this, but it doesn't help the poor people who had to, put this thing back together from scratch and using I think the old PC port as a guide.
Yeah, I think the x86 version of it that they put out for PC,
which was available on Steam for some time. I mean, you could play this old clunky port of this thing if you really wanted to play the game, or put your PS1 disc in again.
Should anybody buy this, Matt?
I did.
Or do you regret it?
No, I don't even like this game that much. But like, you know what? Like it's like playing it again. It's fun to kind of pull the junction stuff and play the thing. And the other thing is like, you forget how much time you spent playing these games, even if you didn't like really enjoy them all that much. These games were not life changers for me. But the instant the music came up on this classroom, I'm like, oh, this music. I was like, it has something to it. And like, even though like it's like I'm like, well, I'm never gonna be nostalgic about this because I was 23 when it came out. But like, no, it's still there. And the other thing about it is it kind of, I was thinking about it a lot because I'm like, okay, I don't even particularly like this game's story or any of the characters in it. I think Squall is like a complete zero, even though he does have my favorite line in Final Fantasy history in this game when he wakes up from I think it's the first Laguna like side thing, and someone asks him like, did you have a bad dream? And then he thinks to himself, I dreamt I was a moron. Which is my favorite line in Final Fantasy history because Laguna is in fact a moron. Like it's the most insightful thing Squall says in the entire game. But I was thinking about like why is this actually having that sort of pull on me that I'm like, oh, I remember this and I remember this and I remember that shot. I remember the way this panned down when you had this conversation. And I think it's because, and like, why don't JRPGs today have that kind of effect, except in the case of the really good ones? And I think it's because the switch to a more cinematic, fully voiced situation with this genre hurt it. I think these games are better when you are making the dialogue work from text in your head, and they're telling you the mood and establishing kind of the emotional themes.
When they left more to your imagination.
When it was more of it was more like listening to a concept album.
Yeah.
Frankly, with text in the liner notes. That's basically what these old RPGs were, and I think that has a more. I think that's a more effective way of ingraining something in you. I think otherwise you're just sort of watching this weird thing play out, and it's hard. Like I think if you did it just in text, that terrible laughing scene in Final Fantasy X would work, because you would make that work in your head when you read it.
I mean, I believe that firmly with a lot of things. I think just in general, leaving something to the imagination is almost always better than overtly giving something to someone who's consuming it.
Yeah. Maybe not having to imagine that Squall has an actual face.
Yeah.
But there's a case to be made. I mean, it is fun to watch, to like look at some of the fights in this and realize like, oh, that's what that monster's supposed to be.
Yeah, because then the old version is like
I don't know, it's a thing, it's moving, I got to kill it, whatever.
Yeah.
You got to move.
How much is this selling for? $30? Is that right?
Is it 30? I thought it was 20.
I'm not sure, honestly.
I want to say I don't think I would have bought it if it was 30. I think it was 20.
20. Do you think someone who isn't like us and didn't play this when it came out will like
no.
it? Yeah. If there's no nostalgia there,
I would say pure nostalgia on this one.
Yeah.
Like if you like this game, if you have fond memories of this game, yeah. But if you didn't play it, I mean, unless you're like a Final Fantasy fan and you just want to see what the fuss was about and you don't have it, or you never had it on a PlayStation 3. I mean, it was available on PlayStation 3 or whatever. It's just, this is more like if you want to play it in a form that isn't going to make your eye hurt,
Yeah.
I mean, the character models, for all the problems with the backgrounds and all that stuff, the character models are way easier on the eyes.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I mean, they're made out of like 500 polygons.
They have faces and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah. I mean, I think it's a definite improvement. If you like this game, you should definitely get it. If you don't like this game, it's probably not going to change your mind. But if you like Final Fantasy and you're too young or so whatever to have ever played this, like, you could do worse. I mean, at the very least, it might make you appreciate 15 a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It just in terms of scope. But I don't know. Mainly what it reminds me of is, God, I gotta get back to playing Final Fantasy XIV.
Guess
I mean, I don't know if you saw some of the stuff at PAX.
I didn't. I was
because you were out of town.
Away, yeah.
So there was a Final Fantasy XIV panel, and they brought out the woman who wrote Shadowbringers, and she got a standing ovation.
Wow.
For like a minute and a half.
Wow.
Like, people love that game. There's people saying like, this is the best Final Fantasy ever.
I've been hearing that. Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to get to this thing because she cried when they
Really?
she worked on that game for like 6 or 7 years and just finally recently got for this expansion got the seniority to like write it and do all this stuff. And the fact that she just came out and everybody just like freaked out that it's like
she worked so hard.
Well, also because I don't think as a developer of any game you get that kind of recognition very often.
That's true.
And it was a great moment. Like, if you can find a video, I think there's a clip of it on Twitch because it was live streamed, so that it's out there. Go find that and look at it. It's a really heartwarming moment, whether you like Final Fantasy or not.
We need more moments like that in our industry right now.
Yeah,
because there's all kinds of dastardly crap going on.
Yeah, it's more of that would be good.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. If you've never played this game, we're saying don't bother.
Yeah, unless you're just really curious. I mean, if you're
a collector,
I'm never gonna say don't play this game if you're curious. But I'm just like keep the expectations low. Like there's some dumbass stuff in this game.
there's a reason it's considered one of the worst Final Fantasy.
It is, but also like in conjunction with like 13 and 15, like it's also sort of refreshing.
Okay.
In the sense that like. At the very least, despite the flaws with the junction system, it's still doing what it does pretty well, as opposed to sort of when 13 and 15 try to reinvent the wheel and just fall on their face.
Okay.
So you could do worse, but at the same time, we are hitting like Crazy Town release schedule season, and maybe jumping into a 20-year-old JRPG is
save that for January.
Yeah. No, because January is crazy too.
No, it is.
Like, save it for May at this point.
Or just don't play.
Or just don't. Yeah.
I think that's what we're getting at ultimately. For most people, this is a pass.
It's completionists and fans.
Yeah. All right.
But it's nice that they did it.
It'll be the last, I believe, rendition of this game.
Yes. You're not going to get a Final Fantasy VII style remake out of this one.
No. And people wouldn't care the way they do about
the
Final Fantasy VII one anyway.
I mean, yeah. And to be fair, like, they could have done this for Final Fantasy VII. Like, if you updated the character models and fixed the backgrounds and called that Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think it would have been fine. But you're never going to get this treatment for any other Final Fantasy, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't either. There's just something about 7. It's just the one.
Well, it's the one that made it huge.
I guess. I mean, it was huge to me way before that. I actually liked 7 less than...
Oh, it's 7.
The other ones before it.
I like 7 less than most of them.
Yeah, it was funny. Everyone else is like, "Oh, this Final Fantasy is awesome." I'm like, "Bro, like
it's again.
You go back.
The golden age of science fiction is 12.
Yeah.
Like whatever you played when you were 12
is the best.
Is the best thing.
I'm starting to feel that with Dark Crystal that I'm watching on Netflix right now.
Oh, yeah?
I am quite shocked to see the overwhelmingly positive reviews of it.
We're just going to continue this because I think Dark Crystal is great.
See, I think the story and everything is great, and I'm watching it. I'm hooked on it.
I don't even like Dark Crystal. For me, the movie Dark Crystal, amazing technical achievement, kind of okay movie at best.
Yeah.
This thing, like, I am... hooked.
The writing's great. I just think the puppeteering looks bad, and I think some of the puppets look terrible.
Oh, I don't agree with
that.
Like
the Gelflings. Like, I can't even look at them. I think they look awful.
Oh, they look weird. I mean, they're weird looking, but I think they look really good. And there's a surprising amount of facial acting that works with them. Like, I'm impressed by how much that show knows when not to talk.
That is
unlike me.
But the horrible, like, syncing with the facial and the
that is
dialogue.
There is some
it's
rough
really
stuff. Yeah. Well, you can
off-putting.
tell that the people puppeteering were not the ones who did the dialogue because they
Yeah.
recorded that later as ADR, and
Yeah.
that's matching your ADR to a puppet
It's
is
hard.
not easy.
Yeah. I just think they maybe should have just done it CG.
Nah, I think
I
that-
respect that
I
they
think that would
tried
have
to
been
do it
missing the
this
point.
way.
I think doing it as puppets is fine. I mean, the sketches
plot
are
is great, though.
Plot's great.
The voice
being
acting is
able-
great.
Voice acting. I mean, Mark Hamill as the scientist Skeksis is great. He's kind of doing like a
He's
sort
a
of the
little
Joker,
yeah.
but he's also doing the thing that I got from that is actually that like Mark Hamill would be a great Starscream.
Yeah, he would.
Like
I'm surprised he hasn't been cast as that already.
Well, he's very expensive.
Yeah.
But like Charlie Adler costs a lot less, and Charlie Adler is also a very good Starscream.
Yeah.
But
I'm enjoying it. I
with
just
the
saw
reboot-
everyone else is like over the moon over it. And I'm like, I'm not there.
well, part of it is just like I wasn't expecting this thing to be that good, and there's also sort of a fan makes good thing because they've been trying to get that thing made for like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
You can tell. I mean, there's so much fan love in that show. I mean, I'm vaguely familiar with a bunch of stuff from Dark Crystal, but like. There's not just references to the movie in that show. They're referencing the comic books that no one read. They're referencing the tie-in novel. I mean, and you don't need to know any of that to like the show, but like they did their home. You can tell this was percolating in someone's head since the movie came out. Like this is some really like in-depth stuff, and it doesn't have that Netflix sag in the middle. Like the story moves and everything comes together, and it gets better and better and better and it's good. Like I really love it. I mean, if puppets don't do it for you, puppets don't do it for you. And
the whole like hopping like animation when they walk.
Yeah, I mean
like,
they are Muppets. They are very much Muppets. And and there's that how styled how Muppets move that you can see periodically, especially when they're like doing their comedy stuff and like they do that Muppet sort of like.
No, you're right.
Thing.
Because it's probably some of the same puppeteers that have been doing that stuff.
Kevin Clash, who did Elmo for years and years, is one of the main puppeteers through a bunch of it. So like you're seeing a lot of the comedy stuff. You're seeing the guy who did Elmo. Like think about Elmo. You can see it. You can absolutely see it. The body language is there.
Okay, let's move on.
Tangent.
Yep, we do that sometimes here at GameFace.
Speaking of things, no one
Yeah, I have a feeling most of our audience probably doesn't care about Dark Crystal, but I absolutely do. Like you're talking about being like that tween age, and like Dark Crystal was that for me. Like that's where I was when I saw it, and so I have a huge affinity for it.
The original Dark Crystal movie was similar to the Final Fantasy stuff in the sense that when I saw it, I'm like, did I miss? I don't understand what is happening here. Like I felt like there was backstory and world building that I just wasn't old enough to piece together myself. And I rewatched it like when it came out on DVD, and I still think it's pretty sketchy. Like the fact that this show can do like these like moving the camera, I don't think the camera's locked down in a single shot in the show, which is they've never done that with Muppets before.
There are some,
but it's like the camera's always moving, the camera's always moving around, which was most of the original movie is lockdown shots because that's how puppets were done.
Yeah.
The cinematographer for the show, like the first day he like started moving the camera around,
like,
and
whoa,
the puppeteers are like, whoa, what are you? What is it?
Loud.
Like the director came in, he's like, I want to do an Aaron Sorkin like walk and talk like tracking shot through the castle, and they're like, we can't do that. They're like, no, we can't. He's like, well, that's not what we do, and they do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they revolutionized how to shoot Muppets in this.
I just would argue that maybe Muppets have had their day in court.
I mean, you're not wrong, but like that's also sort of the appeal of this. It's like claymation. It's like, is anyone ever going to think claymation is like realistic look? I mean, actually, because Coraline looks almost indistinguishable from
there is.
Studio Leica makes stuff that everyone thinks is CG, and that's part of their problem.
Right.
Is they don't realize that
it's actually.
They don't realize that Kubo and the Two Strings was animated by frickin' hand.
It's unreal.
But like. But I appreciate the art of it.
I do too.
It's
amazing.
And
the story is great.
Like when you're looking at like these huge shots with all these puppets and all this stuff, and you're like, that's real. Like they built that.
That's not a CG. There's some good CG in the show too.
There is. They do a real good job of making them consistently. Like that,
and it blends
like what you said,
well.
That weird Muppet movement.
Yeah.
They get the CG models to do that too.
They do, because they have to.
But they get it to believably work when you can see their feet.
Right.
And it's like, that's amazing. Like the fact that they figured out a walk cycle that works for that movement is great. Like I love it.
I think my biggest problem is that the Gelflings to me are like horrid. They look so awful. Like I don't want to even look at them.
Like I don't think so, but I can totally see why there would be like an uncanny valley effect.
They're just so unattractive.
Yeah. I mean, they've always been sort of like that.
Anyway.
And now there's more of them. I love that they remembered that the original movie is super gross. Oh, yeah. And the show has all that stuff.
Like the nose
goo, everyone. All the eating scenes are horrible. I mean, the only thing I remembered for years from that movie is the horrible eating scene with the Skeksis.
Yeah. They're so gross.
Yeah,
and they nail that part of it.
I gotta say, I went to like a viewing party for the Dark Crystal over the weekend, and I was just like, I want to see the puppets, I want to see the technical stuff. I am blown away by that show. I love it.
Yeah.
I was not ready.
I'm really into the story.
I was not ready to dig it as much as I do. So
Yeah.
if you haven't watched it, do it. Like, try it
on Netflix.
It's really good.
Okay, let's move on. We have to. Let's talk about Control. We also discussed this game on our last episode. Both of us had played a handful of hours. You a little less than me. The aggregate has not come down for this. It's still firmly a Game of the Year contender. Now that you've played more, do you agree or disagree that it should be considered there?
I still pretty much agree.
Yeah.
Like, I still like it. I have not finished it because I got distracted.
Yeah.
I mean, you went out of town, so
yeah.
But like, I am still liking it a lot. I think as you get more and more abilities, it just expands and expands and gets more interesting, and it's more interesting to go back and do all the various stuff you couldn't do before. I've kind of enjoyed going back. For once, very rarely does this happen, but I have enjoyed going back and re-exploring the areas that I couldn't get to before with
because they're interesting.
New flight period abilities and stuff. I love those, the SCP stuff where you're finding all these weird artifacts and like locking them down, and there's a lot of optional stuff with that I think is cool. Story remains interesting once you're finally moved forward in what she's trying to do, and like,
I think it gets better.
Yeah, obviously you do find your brother because that you're showing him in the trailer here.
Yeah,
and then the story gets really good after that. I mean, there's nothing here.
What's his name? Sam Lake.
Sam Lake is the director and the writer. Yeah,
he's a good writer.
Co-director. He is. I mean, I think the Max Paynes were really well written.
They were well written.
Too.
Yeah.
mean, for what I mean, they're of a heightened style. They're a pulp, crime noir thing. But like, he nails it. Whatever he tries to write, he nails. I mean, Alan Wake is a Stephen King novel, and he nails it.
He does.
He might be one of the best writers in
games. Yeah.
Like, especially in terms of like picking a theme and picking a style and saying this is what we're going to do. Like, very few people execute the way he does. It's actually really impressive, and it's really hard to do.
Yep. Now that I've also gotten over the hump as far as like learning the gameplay systems and everything, I've also found that the combat gets better as it goes on, and a lot of the things that bothered me in the first few hours don't bother me anymore because I've kind of learned how the game wants me to do stuff. And it's just been a smooth ride. I feel like the difficulty is pretty perfectly tuned. I get frustrated just enough to be like, oh no, like they're not going to beat me like that for me to come back. Not to the point where I'm like, well, screw that, I'm done. Like, I don't want to experience this anymore. The plot keeps getting better. I was surprised, honestly, when you found. We kind of spoiled that a little bit, I guess, but now that we've already said it, I was kind of surprised how early you do find the brother.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was like the
he's
end
in the
game.
trailers. So.
He is, but I thought that was like going to be the end game. Like, you finally find him and then it ends. But
I mean, I was still expecting that one. I mean, okay, I'm like 2/3 through, and I'm like, nope. Like, it's not a long game, but like the story is more intelligently structured than I was originally giving it credit for.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. Is I was expecting it to be this structure, and it's actually this other structure, which is way more interesting, which is actually one of the reasons that I am, again, more so praising Sam Lake in the way I am, because it was already pretty good, but the way he kind of takes it and twists it and runs with it is even better.
And I would say, as a gameplay first guy, as I've said many times about myself, the gameplay in this is great.
Yeah.
Like, it just keeps, it doesn't pile stuff on. It just keeps adding like new thin layers on top of it.
I like that.
Combat it's just fun.
I like that it always is giving you something to do. Like, there is almost no downtime, even though both of your methods of interaction have like stamina bars.
Yeah.
Like, you have ammo and you have like power for the psychic abilities, but like, once one is out, the other is probably ready, and you can tweak each one to kind of empower the other. So you're never stuck having to like sort of just take cover and wait for your stuff to recharge. Like, I very rarely find that I have no offensive ability, which is great, because one of the problems with like these psychic telekinetic games in the past has been like, well, you're out. You gotta wait, But the flow is continually there in this game.
Well, I feel like the game, the way it's designed, it forces you to use all the mechanics. Yes. You can't just lean on one thing, but then you don't want to, because each one of them is fun. Like I said when we talked about it the first time, like I've found that I use the telekinesis to finish enemies off. I light them up, get them to where they're almost done, and then I just pick up something and just toss it at. It's so satisfying to finish them off with a big chunk of rebar and concrete to the face. Like,
I mean, my thing is like, I mean, I love it when they have shields and you take the shield down with a telekinetic throw and then you just headshot them.
Yeah.
But my other thing is advancing towards like the toughest enemy and like hitting him with my guns usually, and as the side enemies show up, just picking something up and just throwing it, just like casually like nailing them one, because usually they take one hit or two, and even if they don't die, whatever you throw at them will generally knock them off their feet, which lets you focus more on the guy who's the real threat. Like, there's so many ways to do that and look awesome doing it.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a game that should be grading you on a style scale?
Oh, this is
like,
it.
You could do that in this.
No question. Absolutely. And it would encourage people to explore the combat even more. It's a shame that this game isn't selling better than it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you can do. Like, it's the word of mouth is good, the reviews are good.
Why do you think it is that people aren't interested in it? And it was this way all along. Unsifted, it never did well.
I wasn't interested until I played it.
Yeah,
like,
why though?
I don't think it looks very interesting. It's a lot of gray and black and
white.
And like it's just like you look at it and you're just like, oh, it's just people, and like if you don't, and it looks like kind of like the standard, like, I mean the setting and the themes and the atmosphere work when you're in it, but when you're just looking at this, it looks like just kind of a little by rote horror.
It's hard to describe the game to someone in a 30-second TV spot.
It doesn't slice well.
Yeah,
I guess
that's a good way to put it, actually. Yeah. Do you think it's a Game of the Year contender?
I mean, yeah, I don't know if it would be for me. I mean, it depends how it turns out in the end. Like, I need to finish it, but it's up there. And even if I didn't pick it as one, if were someone to pick it as one, I would definitely understand exactly what they're talking about.
I think it absolutely is. I think in a lot of years it wouldn't be, but I think in 2019 it absolutely is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still at this point. Like, I remember we were talking about the Resident Evil 2 remake earlier in the year, and it got really high scores, and we both loved it, but we were both like, yeah, it's a Game of the Year contender now, but as the year wears on,
it still is,
and now it still is. Yeah. And so I think this game as well has a shot at the end of the year. Obviously Q4 is here, we're going to get a lot of big stuff over the next few months, but as it stands right now, this is one of the better games I've played this year.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a surprise to me as well. I mean, like I said, I think I even said like the week before it came out, when like you showed like the trailer or something, I'm like, I don't care about this game.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing about this game that looks interesting to me, and I don't know what they needed to communicate that like would have made. And the only reason I played it is because I knew we were going to talk about it.
Yep.
If it wasn't for that, again, it's another one of those games where if I wasn't on this show, I would probably have never played it, or at least I wouldn't have played it until like the price dropped and I'd seen all the positive word of mouth.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they could have done differently to make me think otherwise on that. I mean,
looks... 505 promoted the living crap out of it.
They did.
There are dozens of trailers for this game. Launch week, I think they put out 3 basically launch trailers. I'm struggling to figure out where it went wrong. I just can't put my finger on it.
It just looks so not generic, but it just looks so normal. I don't know. I can't describe why it does because it doesn't look like you're doing anything particularly interesting. And like they blew the doors out in the trailer. Like, they're throwing stuff around, and you're and maybe the appeal of it is really that it feels good to play, and that's hard to communicate.
It always is hard to communicate that.
That's
why people rely on us a lot of times.
Yeah.
That's what we can try to convey that a TV commercial can't. But I hope like somehow it gets a resurgence and ends up doing well. It deserves to do well.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see like Microsoft step up and drop a chunk of change on it and put it on Game Pass to get more people to play it. Really,
I would be shocked if Remedy isn't a really like high target for acquisition. I mean, it should be.
There has been a lot of talk of Remedy being bought by Sony.
Because if you could guide them just a little bit, I mean, they have the technical prowess, they have the great writing.
These guys could definitely make a God of War.
Oh yeah,
caliber.
and that's what I'm saying. Like if Sony was like, "Hey, here's this IP we have, We're going to let you develop it, and we'll have a couple consultants who worked on the last couple games in the series.
You want to know who could make Siphon Filter something worth playing?
Yeah,
These guys.
That's actually a good point. That would be a great franchise for them to tackle. So I hope it ends up doing better than it's doing right now, but it's not looking good.
No. I mean, clearly they've been acknowledged by the press and by a lot of the people who did play it as having done something really special here. But the sales just aren't reflecting it so far.
Yeah, which is a disappointment, but it's not over yet. I think a lot of people right now are hoarding cash for Q4. They don't want to spend all their money in September or August when they may need to save it to buy some big stuff in October, November, December.
ETH Demon has a good question there.
What is it?
ETH Demon.
ETH Demon inverts the question for the reason, why is Astral Chain selling well? Because Nier's obscene word of mouth pushed people to buy Astral Chain, for example. What's Remedy's last one, Alan Wake?
I don't think it's that so much as Switch exclusives do really well in general.
Yeah. Also, that Japanese dude has a good one, Infamous. Let Remedy work on Infamous.
That would be a good one. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense,
yeah.
actually. I don't know that Remedy has a lot of experience with open world games per se, but
like Infamous's problem wasn't the open world so much as balancing how the powers felt with the standard combat. And like if you swap the gun out for shooting like lightning beams,
yeah,
you basically have Infamous.
You do, yeah. I mean, because a lot of the same powers and things like that are in Infamous. So,
and part of my issue, I mean, I love the Infamous games and I love Sucker Punch, but I always felt that the Infamous games didn't ever quite go crazy enough with the powers.
Yep.
And
agreed.
This, I think, does.
I also never really liked the characters in Infamous. Like, the one, it was like a dude bro with, like, a beanie. Like,
yeah.
For whatever reason, like, the characters in that series just never really resonated with me.
Yeah, I think it was Delson, I think was his name, like, in Second Son. Like,
yeah,
he was kind of a tool. But then so was I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a character more instantly disliked by people than Zeke in the original Infamous. Cole's best friend, the guy who kind of looked like Elvis.
Yeah.
And how like you're not supposed to like he's not supposed to be a good person.
Yeah.
Like it's like. But
Erebus Jones brings up a good point. History shows games like this will be half price within a month. I don't think it'll be half price in a month. And then someone else followed it up with Hitman 2 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider were, and Control probably will be as well. So
yeah.
It is kind of hard to recommend that somebody buy this at full price right now, knowing that probably because look, this isn't a Nintendo game; it will drop in price, and it won't take that long for it to happen.
And actually, the Tomb Raider is a good comparison there.
Yeah, if Tomb Raider dropped in price a month or two after it came out, then this is kind of headed in that same direction.
Yeah. I wonder, is there a connection there between it being like a single player only game, and that is there no rush to get in because the online community is not going to drop?
It's hard because like. My first example was going to be like, well, it didn't happen to God of War, but then God of War is like this transcendent game that it's not really fair to compare it because look, there's no way Remedy had as much time and resources as
right, and also for God of War, you can show a man with a giant magic axe fighting a troll the size of a building,
right?
And in this, it's just someone shooting a guy,
with a weird morphing gun.
Like it's very hard to communicate in visually with this game how what you're doing is different than what you do in all these other shooting games.
Yep, and I think I would argue the audio in this game is really important too.
Yeah,
and you really don't get that from typical game marketing. So, look, Matt and I both love Control. It's hard for us to tell you to go buy it right now at full price because I think Erebus is right. I don't think it'll be in a month, but.
By Thanksgiving, by late November.
You'll be able to get this during Black Friday sales for probably like half off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we recommend you wait till Black Friday and buy it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to do it.
I hate to say that. Like, if Sam were standing in the room right now, I probably wouldn't say it, but he's not here. So just
Sam Lake.
Yeah. Not our old TriCaster TD.
Like Sam wouldn't care.
Yeah.
What's he gonna? It's not the Patriots.
Yeah. I mean, I try to convince people to buy games like this because I want more of them, you know? But at the same time, it's their money, and I don't want to, like, steer them wrong.
Also, I mean, you're in an industry where, like, first week sales, like,
are everything.
And so, like, the ship is kind of sailed.
It has.
So
I hate to say it.
You might as well do what's right for you.
Yeah, you don't see many games that don't chart well, like, a few weeks later hitting number one.
No.
It doesn't, like, it happens with music a lot, with albums and things like that.
Like, every once in a while you get a game that has legs. Again, Nier Automata.
Yeah.
I think,
that game
is an example of that.
sold moderately well for an extremely long period of time. Yeah. but that's pretty rare in games. So there you go. Our final takes on Control.
Well, at this point, I do kind of hope that Remedy gets bought by someone just to keep them alive.
They deserve to keep making games.
This is a great team of people.
For sure. Yep, they have a lot of talent, a lot of skill. And I think aesthetically they are very skilled as well, which is that X factor that most you can't buy, really.
No.
There are a lot of studios that are technically proficient. I think maybe you're starting to see that with like 343 with Gears. It's like technically, yeah, they're all over it. It looks great, but and I think you're seeing it with the last couple of Halos. Like they just don't have that special sauce. They don't have that pixie dust sprinkled on it. Like you can't really hire people to do that. Like either your studio has it or it doesn't. And I don't know. We'll see. I would not be shocked if Remedy is purchased in the next 8 months. I'll put it to you that way. And I would agree with you. It probably would be Sony because Microsoft already went on a shopping spree. And I would also argue that Microsoft really blew it by not buying Remedy and buying some of the other studios that it did.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of had their opportunity when they were doing the Alan Wake stuff.
Yeah, or Quantum Break. I mean, if any publisher was going to buy them, it should have been Microsoft. I don't know. Weird. So anyway, that's Control. Probably the last time we talk about it until Black Friday when we tell you to go buy it for reals.
I mean, look at that. I mean, this is as close as you're going to get to Jean Grey with a gun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really. This is basically what it is. There's an X-Men element to it, too.
Yeah, I mean, you can really see the telekinesis stuff here and how it's just seamlessly integrated into the gunplay.
And the fact that everything gets damaged.
The damage model is unreal.
When you're done in a fight, you could come in and look at the area and kind of repiece together what happened.
What happened, yeah. Because you don't remember what is going on sometimes because it's so hectic. And then you look around, you're like, oh, wait a minute. That's where I snagged that 5-foot piece of concrete out of the wall and flung it at that dude. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. That's Control. Let's move on. We're going to talk next about Cyberpunk 2077. Don't talk about this game on the show. Actually, we haven't talked about it really on the show for a long time because it held the E3 demo hostage all the way through E3, all the way through Gamescom, and just finally, they released it this past week, showing off what we had seen back in June. You think that's a good tactic, Matt?
Who cares?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I mean, look, not in relation to this game, because this game is bulletproof. It's going to sell like crazy no matter what. It's a done deal. But do you think in general, when promoting games, do you think games that aren't like this could get away with what CD Projekt Red's been doing?
I think it depends when they come out.
Yeah.
It's all about the release date. Sometimes it's advantageous, sometimes it's not. I think it would have been advantageous to release the E3 demo of Avengers earlier. In fact, I think the leak proves that people softened their opinion on it just after they first saw that off-screen leaked stuff. And of course, they did follow up on that with actually releasing it at Gamescom.
Yep. Which Cyberpunk didn't.
Yeah, no.
CD Projekt Red didn't.
I mean, I don't really know why that happened. I assume it's somewhat tied into the way you don't want to show stuff early because then people do the whole thing where they're comparing it to the Puddlegate and stuff like that.
Did you see,
to this day, there are still people making mods for Witcher 3 that, quote, fix the lighting to the way it should have been, off the old demo. And it's just it's hard to blame them. There's a lot less early footage being shown in general, and I think that's why.
Have you watched this? Did you see it at E3?
No.
Okay.
I haven't actually seen any of this.
Oh, okay. Well, there is this huge, and it's been cut out of our B-roll, but there's this huge disclaimer that they run that it's I feel like CD Projekt Red is so far up its own ass right now. And, I mean, for good reason. Everybody's gushing over the game and telling them they can do no wrong. But there's, this big disclaimer that it's so the trailer starts, and it shows a bunch of new stuff, and then it stops, and there's a disclaimer saying, there's going to be stuff in here that is things you've never seen before. It's yeah, I'm watching a trailer for a video game. Obviously, I want to see stuff I've never seen before. So they show a bunch of stuff you've never seen before, then put the disclaimer up, then show more stuff that you've never seen. But I've never seen anything like that in a piece of media from a publisher or a developer where they kind of show you stuff that basically what they're saying is we know to some of you guys that literally anything is a spoiler. That's basically what the message is saying. We've talked about it before on GameFace about how some people are so aggro over spoilers that it's ridiculous. The way that they kind of couch it, it makes them think that all their fans are that way. And honestly, after what I've gone through with Cyberpunk 2077, they're right. Like, their fans are psycho, Matt. Some of them are like insane. Like, if you took them to a psychiatrist, I think that they would probably be put on meds. Like, they recognize it, and they're like saying, look, if you don't want to know anything about this game, first of all, why did you click on this? But second of all, stop right now, because there's something new that you might see that could ruin a 100-hour game. Like,
well, the spoiler phobia stuff is completely out of control at this point. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, it all reminds me of, I think the first time I really noticed it was when they showed Mass Effect 2 at E3. And the demo was the opening of the game. It was where you're running around the Normandy and they're being attacked. And at the end, you know, Shepard ends up getting blown out the airlock, saving the ship, and dies and falls to the planet. And people lost their minds. They thought that they showed the ending of the game because Shepard died. And I remember specifically saying, like, why would they do that? No one would do that. So who cares? That's clearly the beginning of the game. Like, he's going to come back, and there's going to be some clone. Clearly there was more to it. They didn't just show you that. BioWare's not going to show you the end of their game as their demo. That doesn't make any sense. But they didn't want to hear any of it. They didn't care. And, like, there's people that consider gameplay mechanics spoilers. There's people that consider casting decisions spoilers. There's people that I saw a thing where there was that thing where the article was articles about how, like, some of the first part of Dave Chappelle's new stand-up show on Netflix, like, has a lot of transphobic stuff and a lot of, like, really questionable jokes, a lot of punching down. And people were complaining about political correctness or whatever, but there are other people in the comments on those articles and on, like, the Twitter threads complaining, like, well, thanks for spoiling the joke. And I'm like, what?
Oh, man.
I mean, I guess, but, like, then why did you read the article?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
People in, like, threads about the new Star Wars movie screaming about how I didn't want to know that. Then why are you in a thread about the Star Wars movie? Like,
that's why I said, like, CD Projekt Red is up its own ass.
People are like, I'm on media blackout. Then why are you on the internet?
Because that disclaimer
in a Twitter thread about the game you don't want to hear anything about.
I mean, that disclaimer was basically CD Projekt Red telling people who don't care that much about it that maybe they should because other people do. Like, they're saying, like, anything we show is going to be a spoiler to some people, but probably not the people that are watching this. So who are we giving this message to?
Probably the people that they don't want to send them death threats and stuff.
Possible.
I mean, you're trying to head off
having dealt with that audience,
a deluge of people that
valid.
That are freaking out about what you showed them. And, like, that doesn't make any sense to me, but, like, they are the ones who received the emails, so I assume they must have found that this was a necessary thing to put in there.
Yeah.
And frankly, seeing how some people treat what they consider spoilers, it's hard to blame them.
Yeah. I just wonder, those people to me would never click on the video to watch it in the first
No, they would. Oh, they would.
That makes no sense. None. Not everything in life does, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, if I don't want to know something about something, I don't really care about spoilers. But if I'm like, I'm going to watch that, so I might as well just, like, I don't find it that hard to avoid them.
Yeah,
like, it's not a big deal. Like, I don't work super hard or do media blackout stuff or anything. But, like, I went into Avengers Endgame knowing almost nothing about what happens in that movie beyond what the trailer showed. And
you are in all the places where stuff like that should have been spoiled.
And I discuss that stuff constantly. And I talk to people that work on the movies and stuff. I mean, it's not that hard.
It's really not.
I don't get it.
Yeah. I just think it's more manufactured.
I mean, sure when you're, like, in a situation like with that when, like, the second to last Harry Potter book came out and everybody's just running around posting, Snape kills Dumbledore on everything.
Yeah, that's
and,
pretty
like, driving by the lines of people and
yelling
to buy the books, like, screaming it out the car window. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a problem.
I don't know why I just laughed at that.
Now
I feel evil.
It was a bit of a cackle.
Yeah, that is evil. That's just mean-spirited. So I guess we should talk about what they actually show in it, which is what I talked about the first time I saw Cyberpunk was how you could play it just completely how you want and how it can be so different from how somebody else plays it. And they really focus on that in this one. They basically set up a mission and they show you two ways to play it. You can go in guns blazing or you can play it with gadgets and subterfuge. And I think this demo demonstrates that more than the one that than the footage that they've released before. They also profile 2 factions. They show off 1 district of the city. Obviously, they showed in some of the footage that there are motorcycles and other ways of getting around. They just kind of focus more on the open world and the environment and the people that you're going to run into. They're basically starting to flesh out the world now. The way that they've marketed this, minus that disclaimer, which rubbed me the wrong way, is pretty freaking genius, though. You can see that they've had a plan all along. And to be fair, they had a long time to formulate the plan, but it's very smart. Like, they tease the stuff at first to the press goes out, evangelizes it, shares it with everybody. Everybody gets hype. Video comes out. People are like, oh, the press was right. This game looks crazy. And then they just start giving you an IV drip of little bits of information, just getting you into the world of the game. And I felt like after watching this media that they just released that I know kind of the environment that I'm going to be living in for 80 hours or so now, way better than I did before. When you get kind of these little disparate bursts of, hey, here's this character, he's shady, and you get jobs from him, and then you see him for like a minute, and then you don't hear from him again. So one thing I will say is, like, the one trailer shows the one NPC getting killed, but then in this they say we're showing you a section of the game that's pretty far into the game, and the guy's there. And before, they said where he died was an early part of the game. So, I don't know. Maybe
a lot of things, I mean, this isn't in the game now.
What?
The character creation stuff is different now.
Oh, it is?
They said, like, there's no male or female choosing. You just design the body and pick a voice and pick a pronoun, and that's who you are.
Interesting.
So there's no, like, binary, like, male-female gender choice now. So there's going to be they're clearly tweaking this as they go. So who knows what's going to end up in the final.
Well, the last time we talked about this game quite a while back.
Monofilament whips.
Yeah. Last time we talked
about
this
the whole thing
game,
with, like, the no third-person cutscene announcement.
Yeah.
Which is weird because we've already seen third.
Yeah.
What I actually think that is I think that they need to do that to get it done in time.
Probably.
And I would not surprise me if like later on when we get like the inevitable game of the year enhanced
it has
third person cutscenes added in because those take time.
Yep. But this definitely shows the flexibility of the game. It shows off the world a lot more. I don't really feel like I need to see much more of this game.
No, I mean
not that I would intentionally go on media blackout or anything, but
I mean, frankly, I was in the instant they showed the title, in 2012. Like,
right.
It's just like, whatever CD Projekt Red makes, I will play.
Based on this IP.
Even Thronebreaker, which I feel like I'm the only one who played that.
You can't win them all.
I like that game, but like it was maybe not what people expect.
I would really be curious to see the pre-order numbers for this game. Like,
probably
really curious.
Pretty good.
Look, it's hyped through the roof, but in conjunction with the fact that pre-order numbers are way down, it would be interesting to see how many people have taken the plunge on this already and are just all in.
I don't know. It's got a long way to go until really the release date is imminent.
Yep.
I feel like most of the pre-orders right now would just be for people for the collector's edition.
How do you like the glitching while you're playing the game?
I don't mind it. Like, I'm sure you can improve that. Like, I bet that's an upgrade.
Something you can upgrade to get rid of
the stability of your visual little stuff or something. There's, Cyberpunk stuff there's always some way to tweak something to like make it work better, or like that kind of thing. I'm sure there's a way to lessen that. But I do enjoy that one of like kind of the it's almost like screen tearing is a feature in this game.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. To me, it could get distracting if it is like all game long. When you're in combat, you're getting these weird tears and glitches. I'm sure there's some story-related thing.
Yeah, I bet you can get better eyes or something.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe one of your eyes is malfunctioning at that moment or something like that. Who knows? But I trust CD Projekt Red to get it right.
Yeah.
If there's a handful of developers that I would trust with stuff like that, they're definitely one of them. So
for sure. And I don't need to see it. It's kind of like how like a lot of the Zelda stuff. It's like I'm fine.
I'm gonna play it.
You got me. I'm good. You don't
Done
need to.
Deal. But because this isn't based on a big IP, Do you think it's been the right? Because that's why I'm saying why I'm curious to see the pre-order numbers for this, because it's not an existing IP. I mean, The Witcher had 2 games before The Witcher 3, had built a fan base.
But except The Witcher 3 was exponentially more popular than those first 2 games. Like,
yeah, oh yeah,
like
for sure.
Literally millions of people who have played The Witcher 3 have never touched 1 and 2.
Yeah, but the two sold.
I would never tell them to touch 1.
2 sold
anyway.
very well though.
2 sold well, but it did not sell like Witcher 3.
Right, but it still had 2 games to build a fan base before kind of they delivered their opus.
Sort of, but I don't think that fan base was particularly relevant to Witcher 3's runaway success. It was the fact that it was a really good game.
I'm just trying to think of games that have sold, say, over 10 or 15 million units that weren't based on an existing IP. It's hard to find.
Might have to look. I mean, Splatoon.
Yeah.
Well,
the first one didn't sell
Nintendo
over
does
10
it pretty often, frankly. And like, I mean, the other thing is like Cyberpunk may not be a known IP, but it sure is a known thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need to tell someone what
it's a known
Cyberpunk
style
is.
or setting. Yeah.
And I mean, it's handy that the IP is called Cyberpunk because it is what it is and it does what it says. So I don't think you need to worry about that too much. Also, like, I mean, Sessler was tweeting with his data company during E3 about how, you know, the number 1 game that everyone talks about all the time at all times online is Fortnite.
Yeah.
And when this thing was in the Microsoft press conference, mention and discussion of this game was 4 times what Fortnite was.
The
And
Keanu Reeves thing
before.
was a stroke of genius.
Keanu Reeves, and that broke into the mainstream press and became a whole thing. I would say there may be no more effective way of getting an unknown IP out there. I mean, it's an advantage that the name of the IP is a genre that people people recognize, and now they've got. I mean, they got Keanu Reeves in it, who was the star of the most popular cyberpunk film ever made, The Matrix.
Yep.
There is no better way to synergize anything they're doing here. I mean, and some of it was luck, like the fact that Keanu thing took off, the fact that Breathless interaction happened is pure serendipity, but it still happened and it counts. I mean, I don't think this game could be in a better position right now. And we'll see how they play it between now and March. There's a lot of time between now and then. Yep. Who knows what their plans are? But I can't really fault anything they're doing here in terms of trying to get this out to the masses. As soon as you start advertising this on like March Madness or something, I think you got a runaway hit on your hands.
What percentage of the 30-second TV spot that they're going to run on TV is going to have
it would definitely end with Keanu Reeves like leaning down and saying like, "We got to go to work," or whatever that line is at the end where he picks you up off the street.
And it's smart. I mean, they should do that, but I think that's going to be kind of their marketing crutch
for sure
to hit the mainstream going forward.
Oh yeah, I mean,
again, a stroke of genius.
If you got Keanu in whatever you're doing, you need to push Keanu because Keanu is. I mean.
It's crazy.
Keanu's hot again.
I just watched John Wick 3 on the flight back to LA from the East Coast.
And it's going to keep going because Bill and Ted 3 is next year, and he just turned 55. Just had a birthday this week.
You can tell in John Wick 3, like he can't run anymore. Like he has this weird like giddy up. Like it's so weird watching him do these crazy action sequences and kind of like limp in between the moves. Have you noticed that?
Not really. I mean, I think
he's got some weird kind of like gait problem.
I think that might intentionally be Wick, though.
Oh, really?
Like that,
it's like part of the role. He runs like that.
I think so. I mean, he's gotten the shit beat out of him in the last 2 movies. John Wick 3 takes place pretty close after 2, and he's been beat to hell and back in that movie. So like,
the movie wasn't great.
I think that
action scenes were.
I think that might. Well, yeah. I mean,
even they started to get a little like tiresome after a while because some of those fights lasted like 30
they do go
minutes.
on. I mean, I like the John Wick movies, but there is an element of like. They are not there for the story. They are there they're being made by stuntmen and people who love action scenes to do like the best imaginable action scenes.
Really gory too.
And the rest of it is sort of just there to like as a framework to hang those things on. And I'm fine. I mean, it's like the Raid. You know, it's like the Raid is just like it's an excuse to have awesome martial arts scenes, and it doesn't really matter that the story is basically like an NES video game. Like it's fine.
It's gun porn.
Get to the top of the building.
Yeah.
Go like that's fine.
Yeah,
right?
I get it.
Yeah. So I think I would put it this way: I would certainly not argue with being on the receiving end of Cyberpunk's revenue.
Oh yeah.
At this point, like I think they're going to do quite well.
Yep. Absolutely. And they're going to have such a huge installed base. Them putting it out right at the end of the gen, right before the new gen.
Yeah, and then to be forward compatible with the new gen stuff and have another reason to play it.
Yeah.
And, like, it's
going to do well.
And I bet you that'll coincide with whatever update with the multiplayer they do, and like.
Which we forgot to mention. They just confirmed that when the last time we
multiplayer
talked,
will come.
It is coming. It's coming after launch, but
which I said like.
The last time we talked about it, they had said that they were like focus grouping it and like working on ideas. Well, I guess they've come up with an idea they're happy with, and it is going to happen. They're going to have multiplayer eventually, but it's coming after launch.
That's fine by me.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I'm kind of psyched for that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of possibilities with all the tools.
It's also like they've never done that before.
Right, yeah.
Outside of Gwent.
It could be bad, too.
You don't know.
We'll see. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Resident Evil. It leaked out last week that, well, actually it didn't leak out. Capcom kind of announced it with a teaser website that a brand new Resident Evil game is going to be shown at Tokyo Game Show. In fact, it's going to be playable at Tokyo Game Show. Basically what they're calling it right now is Project Resistance. So maybe it's Resident Evil Resistance or whatever. So we thought it was
a remake of 3.
What'd you say?
Or there's a remake of 3.
Oh, that's true, actually. I didn't even really think about that.
It's kind of like people working in a, you're sort of a resistance against Umbrella's forces and on the ground and on the street in that game a little bit.
So they launched a teaser website, and there was a link to a YouTube page on the website saying, go here to watch the trailer when TGS kicks off. Well, people went into YouTube and somehow got like into the back end of YouTube and data mined thumbnails from the video. So there are actually 4 screenshots from the game that have leaked out, and we have them ready to share with you guys. So there's the first one. What does that tell you?
Dead by Daylight.
Or Left 4 Dead, or something along those lines, like a cooperative zombie survival shooter.
I mean, they
game
did
as
that
a
before.
Service.
I mean, this.
Yeah, what was it? Outbreak is what it was called. Yeah, and it was bad. I might add. It was probably the worst Resident Evil game ever released. And then, Jared, if you want to go through the other ones, it just looks like you're playing as a bunch of 20-something, whatever folks trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. How do you feel about that?
Don't care.
You don't care?
I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan at this point. Like, Resident Evil 2 brought me in because that's back when I liked the series. I'm going to pretty much ignore anything new they put out.
Really?
At this point. I don't care about Resident Evil anymore.
Did you ever play Resident Evil 7?
No.
You never did?
No.
Not even in PlayStation VR or anything?
No.
How come?
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care about horror games, really. It takes something real special to get me interested, but like, and I know Resident Evil 7 is considered real special, but like, I wouldn't go that far. I have so little interest in the weird family in a house thing that like I can't. Like, I'm just not going to take the time out of my life to do it. Like,
not a fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then, I guess.
I do. I like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I'm like, have I watched like 2 through 5 in the Rob Zombie remake? No. Like, I saw the original. It's fine. I get it. Like, Ed Gein was creepy. Like, I don't need to play 5 Outlast games and Biohazard 7 and all this. Like, it's not a thing I'm interested in because I mostly just find it tedious. Like, I don't find that stuff scary. I do find it more scary than like a supernatural thing because I do think like crazy people trying to kill you is a thing that could actually happen.
Yeah,
so, like,
exactly. Yeah.
But like the things that I find creepier are things like I think Mindhunter is scary. Like the
that
tone
Netflix
of that.
show.
Yeah. But also, I hate David Fincher.
Really?
I think the only 2 good things he's ever made are Zodiac and Mindhunter.
Interesting.
And they're both true crime serial killer I mean, he's at his best doing that because he can put you in that room with that guy they're interviewing to talk about what serial killers are and what they do, and it's scarier than anything you could possibly show me. Just watching this sinister force of a man describe these things so by rote.
Yeah,
is
as if
terrifying.
it's just like going to get lunch. Yeah.
And compare that to like, say, I'm in a dirty kitchen and a guy's behind me. I don't care. Like, I mean.
Well, this is perfect though because this discussion is about what should they do with Resident Evil. Now, by looking at the screenshots of that prior
I think
game,
they should stop.
really?
Like it's.
What do you think that they could do to get you interested in it again?
I mean, you could remake 3, I guess. Like
besides remaking the old one.
I don't know.
Are you at a point in your life where you just don't care about horror games at all? You have no
Pretty
interest
much.
in them?
I mean, very rarely does a horror game come along that I have any.
What if they made it like
Interesting.
Dying Light? An open world kind of thing.
I mean, I guess, but you know what? I'd probably just rather play Dying Light 2. Because you know what Dying Light 2 has? Chris Avellone.
Mm.
Like, I'm just going to flat out assume that anything Capcom does with Resident Evil is not going to be as well written as something Chris Avellone writes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty safe assumption.
And if Dying Light 2 didn't have him on it, I would probably be much less interested, despite how much time I spent playing Dying Light 2. But although, again, the reason Dying Light was appealing to me was not the horror aspect. It was what I was doing.
Open world, parkour.
Yeah. And part of the thing with like Resident Evil where part of the horror is how shitty the game controls. No.
Well, I think
Like,
we'll both agree that that's something that should be fixed.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I like the Resident Evil 2 remake so much is it doesn't lean on that.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I would.
That's why I like 4 so much, because it doesn't lean on that. It lets you have aiming control. It lets you, you know, it puts the character fully under your control, and almost no point in those games do I feel like I got killed or got hit because the controls were like struggling against me. It's my fault, and I accept. But every time they give you full control like that, you generally the thing that I don't find scary about horror games is the fact that you're going to get out of it. Like, you have the tools to overcome whatever situation
you know that
you're
it's
in
possible to survive
because it's a video game.
Right.
Like, you know, movies are more effective in that regard to me because anything can happen. You know, Psycho, you can, you know, that was one of the reasons Psycho works is because you think this person's the protagonist and then they die 2/3 of the way through the movie and you're like, wait, now what? Like, what? You know, like you can swerve that in a way that most games are not going to try to do. Frankly, I find something like Until Dawn a more compelling idea. I don't find that a very compelling game because I don't think it's executed particularly well. But that idea I think is interesting because it lets you do anything. No one's safe. Anything can happen. Like, it's not really up to you how you're controlling it or what you're doing. It's more about like an interactive story. I think that's interesting. But playing yet another Resident Evil game, I don't know if that's in the cards for me. But I mean, it could be any. I mean, I'm not going to say anything they could come up with wouldn't be interesting. Also, like, wow, I'm over zombies. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if that's just because Walking Dead just went on and on and on and just like drove it into the ground. I'm just sick of it. But like, I don't care about zombies. I know Resident Evil's more than that. It's like weird creatures running around with giant dagger tongues and the tyrant stuff. And I do enjoy the Nemesis
I've kind of reached that point with zombies as well, like, because both the Walking Dead shows now are pretty much complete trash.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed being chased around by the Nemesis, by the tyrant in Mr. X or whatever in Resident Evil 2 remake and all that. I mean,
Mr. T would be awesome.
Yeah.
Chased you around a mansion. That's a horror game you would play.
Yeah. Well, what was somebody did a mod where it was Shrek?
Yeah, that's right.
And then they did the other mod where it was they just, instead of the creepy music, they had it play X Go and Give It to You.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's awesome. Like, that's great. That's on par with
that's when modding goes right.
That's on par with when they replaced the dragons in Skyrim with Randy Savage.
Yeah, that was great too.
Oh yeah, like awesome.
Well, look, I do care about Resident Evil, and I will play the next Resident Evil, and I did play Resident Evil 7.
Even if it's like a multiplayer, like Left 4 Dead sort of.
Well, I mean, then I would just play it because I have to.
Because you have to, right?
Look, what I'm seeing of those screenshots, to me, that's not Resident. That's not going to be Resident Evil 8.
I mean, those screenshots.
That's going to be another spin-off.
Those screenshots really make me feel like you're looking at like a Dead by Daylight clone.
Yeah, I was really disappointed when I saw those screenshots. I'll put it to you that way.
No one in Resident Evil should ever have a Letterman jacket.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw these screenshots, I was like, oh, they're just trying to cash in on. Yeah, they're making their version of World War Z because look at what World War Z did. It sold like crazy. Like, I don't blame Capcom for doing it. Like, if you're a company, you need to make money. You need to turn a profit so that you can keep making the games that I care about.
But here's so if it is like a World War Z style thing, is that going to be more interesting to you than, say, the Rainbow Six zombie game? Because I feel like that Rainbow Six zombie game is probably going to have better mechanics.
Probably not. I probably would care more about the R6 game. Yeah, because the gameplay will probably be better there.
Exactly.
But I don't think that.
Like, I don't know if this is an arena that Capcom wants to compete in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The money arena?
Yeah, but I mean, like, the more people are in there, it's like, would you want to make a Battle Royale game now?
I could see Capcom doing that.
Yeah, I mean,
I absolutely.
But
could.
I feel like that market is just like why would you scrabble for that piece of pie when so many other people are already on it?
Yeah.
It's just like, it feels like making another Resident Evil game that's more of a standard Resident Evil game. Not a standard, but like building on what 7 did maybe. Would be a smarter move than trying to cash in on the latest multiplayer fad. But like, hey, I don't run a game company, so what do I know?
I think the sweet spot for Resident Evil, for me anyway, was Resident Evil 5. 4 was close, but 5 gave you a little bit more options as far as like hand-to-hand and melee stuff, and it wasn't quite as canned. I'm not saying that it's the best Resident Evil game ever, far from it, but I think as far as, for me, the sweet spot of the gameplay and what you're doing, that kind of hit it. Like, I liked Resident Evil 7 a lot, but the first-person view that you played in guaranteed that the melee was going to be weird and awkward.
Yeah,
it just does.
My problem with 5 was I didn't like that. Basically, to have fun playing that game, you have to play it co-op.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on a tirade about the problems with RE5, but
Resident Evil, I am very doubtful that Resident Evil will ever top 4 for me. And I know 4 is like kind of.
I mean, it's still my favorite.
They made it actiony. They made like, yeah, good. Like I like it. Played like a good game. And I think I played that game 7 or 8 times to completion. Like,
and it was still creepy and scary. Like
still
they didn't
works,
completely abandon that aesthetic or anything.
But it also like doubles down. I mean, look, the monsters, the big monsters in Resident Evil are not scary to me. They're just gross.
Yeah.
And like. That's fine. Like it doesn't have. I mean, I find very little scare. I mean, one of the only games I do think is even moderately scary is some of the Silent Hills.
Yeah.
A couple of the early Fatal Frames I think are pretty scary, just because they force you to look through the viewfinder, so you're constantly in first person when things are jumping in your face. I'm like, they're just jump scares, but like, yeah, they got me. Fatal Frame 2 got me a couple times. Like I'm not gonna lie. Resident Evil 2 got me once when the tyrant comes through the wall, like made me jump. Silent Hill got me once when you fight the lizard in the basement.
Yeah.
And then like I'm like, okay, and like you get the notes and you need to shoot it in the mouth when it opens his mouth. You're like, all right, open your mouth, fucker, open your mouth. And then it opens his mouth and it's just like the head unfurls and it's like 10 feet wide.
Yeah,
I'm like,
don't open your mouth.
Like, close it up. Yeah. So like, yeah, there's some stuff that I find effective, but like, as I get older and I see all the tricks and I've seen it all before, like there's very little. I mean, you got to creep me out, and almost no one can creep me out. Like it's hard to creep someone out when you're still giving them the tools to survive the situation. So my preferred horror stuff tends to be non-interactive. I guess that's how I.
Interesting. But I think the next one should be third person. I think it should.
I would definitely prefer a return to third person.
Yeah. And I get why they did it for 7, because it was also a VR game.
Right.
And they kind of
wanted to change it up, and they wanted to make it noticeably different, and that's probably the fastest way to do that.
So I'm hoping the next one is third person, not VR. Although I would, I would say,
I love that you just I didn't see him before. She pulls back and it's like, dude,
not VR. Although I did enjoy the VR for a while before it made me sick in RE7. I just don't want to sacrifice. I'm never going to play the whole game in VR. So to me, I don't want to sacrifice the viewpoint for the entire game for a novelty that I'm going to mess around with for a couple hours. I would prefer to play the game in third person. I think the sweet spot as far as combat and gameplay was RE5 ahead of the RE4 stuff, plus a little extra. As far as structure is concerned, like, I'm okay with the old school structure. Like, I think Resident Evil 2 proved that to me, the remake. Yeah. Where I was like, you know what? Just being kind of in a claustrophobic, Metroid-like environment, I think it works best for it. Although 4 maybe that's why 4 is so good. It kind of strikes a perfect balance in between the indoor and the outdoor stuff. But it's not like open world or anything like that.
No, it's just open areas.
Right.
And I mean, and part of it was because like we'd never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
I mean, like walking around that village and suddenly there's like 100 people coming at you. Like no one ever. That was a new experience.
Well, also the fact that they could run,
right,
and they weren't like these foot dragging zombies. I mean, that's the other thing. The reason I'm really burning out on zombie everything is the slow moving zombie trope. I can't do it anymore. I cannot. Like, when I watch, like, a Walking Dead episode now, Fear the Walking Dead or the OG one, I roll my eyes at least 10 times during the show. Because it's just so absurd. Like, the latest episode that was just on this past weekend, like, they're trapped on top of a car. And there's, like, 2 rows of zombies around the car. It's like, just jump over them and run. like the way that the trope of, oh, there's zombies here, even though they're slow as crap, I can't get away from them. Like, I can't deal with that anymore. So the new one has to be third person. It has to have the actions that are available in RE5. It has to have zombies that you're actually scared of and don't move like at half a mile an hour. That would be my wish list for the new Resident Evil. Tone, RE4 all the way. Like, I loved RE4. It had some tongue-in-cheek stuff here and there. To me, it was still really creepy and scary at points. The fact that the zombies could do things like climb ladders and things like that changed everything for me. Like, it just changed the level of terror that I felt while I played it. Visually, I think RE7 looks fine. Like, it's not a technical marvel, but it's good enough.
Although Resident Evil 2, like, that game was great.
It does look great.
And it didn't have to run on VR headsets.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that's your good base to start with. What you did with the RE2 remake, and I'm sure that they're...
Yeah. But I have a hard time believing that this thing they're teasing is Resident Evil 8. Or,
no, it's not. It's absolutely
not. It's just going to be another side thing.
Yep, it's going to be like Revelations, like another one of those games. If we're lucky, it'll be like Revelations. Like, I have a feeling it's just going to be like a cooperative Left 4 Dead World War Z clone. We'll see. Tokyo Game Show is coming up, I think the 12th. So it's kicking off like next week. And so we shouldn't have to wait much longer. TGS is looking pretty good this year.
Yeah.
The Japanese publishers have intentionally held some stuff to show off at Tokyo Game Show. So I think it's actually going to have some relevance this year and have some value. And as always, we'll have all that stuff on Sifted, everything curated for you guys to have easy access to. All right. It's time for our last topic of episode 180. We're going to talk about the gigantic Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday. I have to pull out my notes for this one, people, because there was just so much that they showed. I mean, Nintendo's really just kind of flipping the script on how you promote video game products at this point. You're seeing everyone kind of following suit at this point. Sony's not doing a press conference at Tokyo Game Show again. I don't think they did one last year, or did they actually?
I don't remember.
But it's not doing one, so it's following kind of the same pattern that it's been following in for the last year now at this point. It's just not going to trade shows and promoting its games for whatever reason. Its presence at Gamescom was way more muted than I thought it was going to be.
It's pretty much just Death Stranding.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. And I'm sure that was
They are going to show Ghost of Tsushima at TGS.
At Tokyo Game Show?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good place to show it.
Yeah.
Gameplay or a trailer, have they
said?
Some
trailer at the very least. I don't know for sure.
Better than nothing. But it's not doing a press conference there. So it looks like we're not really going to get any Sony press events until it's ready to show PS5.
That's pretty much what we thought was going to be.
But, I mean, it's all shaken out now to go exactly that way. So Nintendo kind of set the precedent for everyone else, and now we're seeing everyone else just kind of replicate these directs. But they are the OGs, and they still do it better than anyone else, and I think that was proven yesterday with this almost overwhelming Nintendo Direct. 45 minutes long. The announcements were like machine gun fire. I think Nintendo and the Switch are at a place right now where that's how it has to do stuff because it has so much news around it right now. When everything else is just kind of dwindling out.
Because the Switch is in the prime of its
life.
It
is. This is its prime.
And the other systems are, they're not on the way out necessarily, but the new systems are coming. So the cycle is focusing on that, and it's just not ready yet. So Switch is the only game in town in terms of announcements and news right now.
Yep, stuff that's actually happening that's relevant and matters. Let's start getting to this stuff because if we don't, we'll never make it through it all. I think what most people would argue is the biggest announcement, although I would maybe argue against it. Overwatch is coming to Switch. One of the industry's worst kept secrets ever. We kind of knew this was happening for a long time. It did get an official release date of October 15th. Blizzard has said that it's targeting 30 frames per second. Aim high.
Yeah.
So you make sure if you don't hit it, you're still at an okay place. I mean, you should be targeting 60, and then if you end up at 30, okay. But it says it's targeting 30, which could mean that it doesn't even run at 30. I don't know. Is it 5 days late and $1,000 short for Overwatch on Switch at this point?
Pretty much. I mean, I'm sure it will sell fine with the Switch audience, but everyone I know who's a really hardcore Overwatch player doesn't care.
I feel like
they're not, they play this game at 144 frames a second.
I know.
No one's playing this at 540p at sub 30. Like that's not a thing that's gonna happen.
I feel like the only thing keeping Overwatch from going free to play is the Switch version. Because Blizzard's like, oh, we can squeeze some more sales out of this thing before we just give it away.
Yeah.
Because I think if the Switch weren't as big of a hit as it is, I think it would have gone free to play already.
I don't know about that.
I mean, is it really moving new units?
Apparently.
Really?
Here and there.
Is it worth it, though? Or is it better to just get people in the ecosystem?
I mean,
is it better to sell another 5,000 a month or whatever in the U.S.? Or is it better to add 500,000 people to the ecosystem who may or may not spend money on microtransactions?
I don't know, but I trust Blizzard to know what's best for Blizzard.
I mean, I would argue
don't make a lot of
maybe not as
financial
much as I
errors.
used to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I used to say a Blizzard I trust, but I don't know that I would say that now.
You can argue with the quality of some of the stuff they do. You can't argue with their revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing real well. So I'm sure they know what they're doing. Maybe there's a deal in place with Nintendo for this, similar to Bethesda.
Oh, I'm sure.
Which would offset the potential loss of not going free to play for the extra microtransactions. But I don't know. I imagine that's coming soon, right around the time they announced that Overwatch 2 was actually in development. But they got another year at least on the Overwatch League before they can shut that down. So. It makes sense, I guess. I mean,
if I were Blizzard, I would put it out on Switch.
Sure.
Hell yeah. And I would absolutely delay making it free to play to sell more on Switch. But I think probably in a year's time when the Switch version isn't selling anymore either, then it'll probably go free to play.
Yeah.
Are we ever getting Overwatch 2? It's like Blizzard's just managed to string this along for so long.
There's no reason.
Yeah.
It's only been 3 years.
Has it been? I think it's been. Was it 2016?
I think so. Yeah.
I can check real quick. Now we have our PC up here.
Last 3 years have seemed long.
Because so much has happened, honestly. Let's see. Yep, May 24th, 2016 was when it came out.
So it's not that old.
Yeah, I guess it's 3 years. Yeah.
For a Blizzard game, it's practically a toddler.
I mean, for most games, that's ancient. I mean,
yeah, but not for Blizzard.
But not for Blizzard, and not for 2019 when we have games as a service. Games just live that long. Although this is the king of it.
Yep.
3 years, even for a game as a service, is a long time. So
yeah, well, 2 words: Diablo 3.
Yeah, it just keeps going and going and going. So anyway, if you're a Nintendo only,
I don't think anyone's in a position to be criticized for that when we're still on League of Legends 1.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever make a League of Legends 2.
I don't know why you would.
There's not really any reason.
As I said, Riot Games is an incorrect name.
Yeah,
it should be Riot Game.
Yeah.
They've
Although rumors are swirling that they're about to show something new. We'll see. I'll believe it when I see it because I feel like we've been hearing that for
I know for a fact
forever.
that they've made 6 or 7 internal games that they're never going to release because they decided they weren't good enough.
Yeah.
But they make stuff all the time.
They just we never see it.
There's a huge R&D and development side that doesn't work on League of Legends. Just tries to make the next Riot game.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen.
Yep. Next up from the Nintendo Direct, I would argued that this would be the second biggest story, but I have a feeling for most people it wasn't, and that is Terry Bogard is coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I wonder how many 8 to 13-year-olds were watching the Direct and was like, who the hell is that? And granted, he is easily the most recognizable SNK character of all time, but SNK isn't particularly relevant in this day and age. I'm guessing a lot of people were disappointed when they saw this.
A lot of Smash fans were complaining that the fighting game character was in their fighting game, yes.
Yeah.
But Terry's a cool addition. The other thing is King of Fighters is huge in Mexico.
In Mexico?
Yeah, in Mexico, Latin American countries. SNK was big there, and King of Fighters is the fighting game of Mexico.
I had no idea.
Absolutely.
Wow.
By wide margins. And the current Smash champion is from Mexico.
Wow.
And if you give him Terry Bogard, you are going to end the world. It's astounding.
Do you think he's going to control the same though? He can't really.
No, it'll be an adaptation.
He'll just make sure he gets really good with him.
But I would definitely think so.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun. I mean, if you're talking about like adding just like kind of having Smash Brothers be a collection of like iconic characters in gaming, might as well.
Yeah.
Like he's a cool inclusion.
Are we seeing the law of diminishing returns though at this point, where Nintendo's? I mean, it's crazy to say, but starting to kind of run out of characters to put in it.
No, not at all. Part of this I think comes from the fact that the Neo Geo stuff is so prominent in the eShop.
Yeah.
Like there've been a lot of Neo Geo stuff on the Switch, so clearly their relationship with SNK is good. They announced that there'll be more DLC characters coming. Like that part of the backlash on when this leaked that this was what was going to happen, that this character they're going to put in. Was that, we've only got 2 characters left and this is going to be one of them. That's a waste of a character slot. First off, it's not. Shut up. Second, they announced there's going to be more DLC characters coming, so clearly they're going to keep going. Like they have more to do, it's fine. Like I guarantee though, there's more to come.
Well, Nintendo did announce that there are
and
more
if you
DLC
think
characters
Terry
to come.
Bogard isn't iconic enough to be in Smash, it's like, dude, when Melee came out, they hadn't released a Fire Emblem here ever.
Right. Yeah.
And they had 2 Fire Emblem characters in it.
That's
And I was like, who the hell is Marth? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Or you think Earthbound? Come on. You think I promise you more people have played King of Fighters
Earthbound
than
more
played
so
Earthbound.
than Ice Climbers.
Yeah, I mean, Ice Climbers is. That's the thing. Is like if you're talking about something's old, so it's iconic. You're in Ice Climbers and Kid Icarus territory, and King of Fighters absolutely qualifies in that regard.
Yeah.
There've been King
I
of
don't have
Fighters,
a problem with it, but
there've been King of Fighters games for a quarter century. Like you can step down.
People like us know that, but
Yeah, but King of Fighters is a current thing. Like you see.
They put out that game about 2 year and a half ago.
Yeah, it's been 12,
It came
13,
and went
14
like a
have all been the
shadow.
last couple years. If you follow fighting games at all, you know King of Fighters is. And if you are in Latin America at all, you absolutely know what King of Fighters is. And honestly, the Smash market is bigger than just North America, bigger than just United States and Canada. Like you can put out stuff that appeals to other people too. And the King of Fighters fans are over the moon on this one.
Yep.
So I think that's cool. I think
and Nintendo did say yesterday more characters are coming.
More coming, so that if you didn't get whatever you wanted, and you see people that are I want it to be Shantae. Well, sorry, Shantae is already in the game as an assist character, as a sticker or whatever, so you're probably not.
Yep.
Like if Shovel Knight...
Have they ever done that? Have they ever had an assist trophy turn into
of.
a fully playable character?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think so.
From game to game, yes. From the same game, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I am interested to see if they continue the trend of having all their DLC characters be non-Nintendo, be third-party characters, because other than the Piranha Plant, they've all been new.
Third
and that's
party.
It's cool if you want to kind of turn it into a celebration of gaming in general. Like that's how you get Master Chief in there.
Yeah. Well, there's rumors flying that Sony's working on another All-Stars Battle Royale for PlayStation 5.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, because the first one was awful.
Not tops.
Yep. Other Smash announcement yesterday. Banjo-Kazooie, now available inside the game. Initial reports are that Banjo is just a dominator.
Yep.
It looks like he is
seems to
maybe
be
a little OP.
That seems to be a trend in the DLC. Hero had the same issue. Hero was very powerful. Part of that is because people don't know how to deal with him yet.
That's part of it. The other part of it, though, is that is a tactic. Are they selling Banjo and Kazooie? Does it cost money?
Well, unless you have the pass, the character pass.
So they have learned this lesson from Riot. And what Riot does when it launches a new champ in League of Legends, that champ is way OP. And it quickly spreads
Can't
around.
You just say overpowered? What is the OP thing?
I don't know. Does it bother you?
Yes, I don't know why.
Maybe you're remembering the old OP corduroy shorts from the 80s.
That could be it. Yeah, Ocean Pacific is starting to bother me. Banjo's so Ocean Pacific, man. He is wearing shorts. They might be.
If you're in the community, the League of Legends community, that's just what they say. So
because you don't want to type out overpowered, but we're speaking aloud.
Yeah,
you can just say overpowered.
I don't know. It's just what people say. Anyway, and what they do is they make those new champs overpowered so that people buy them, and then they pay for them, and then when the sales rush is over, they nerf them so that they're okay for competition. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing
Hero is getting banned a couple places already,
at tournaments and stuff. Yeah,
I don't know if that's necessary, but it does happen. Meta Knight was banned for a long time.
They have a way to fix that with League of Legends play, because before a match starts for official esports play, you can ban champs. So you can pick the champs that you don't want to have a part of the match. So that lets you, if there's a character that's way overpowered and everybody knows it, you can just eliminate it from the match when you get to choose like the characters that you want to take out of play. It's mostly for a strategy. You know, if you have someone on a team that's only good with one champ and you want to hamstring that team, you can take that champ away, and then that one player on that team is like screwed. So but anyway, they do use that tactic to get people to pay for the characters at first, because you got to remember, League of Legends is free. The only way they make money is when people buy skins or they pay for new champs.
I don't know if that's really in play on Smash Brothers, though. Like,
you don't think they would do that to get people to buy Banjo?
I don't think that's going to convince people to buy Banjo nearly as much as the fact that it's Banjo.
Yeah, well, for sure. But
like,
for people who don't care about Banjo, though,
we don't care about those people.
But there are people who are young who don't care about Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, but Smash,
like we do.
The Smash thing is like you want all the content. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, I don't think you need to like make something hard to deal with in tournaments to sell it to anybody. Like, the tournament players are all going to get all the content anyway because they got to learn how to play against it.
They're all going to play as Joker anyway.
Yeah. I don't think that's real. I mean, I'm sure that's why League of Legends does what they do. I don't know if that's really Nintendo's strategy here. Part of it might just be a lot of this stuff's very hard to balance, especially in a fighting game versus like, you know, a League of Legends game. And sometimes you just don't learn this stuff until you let the community at this thing and you find all these infinite combos. I mean, you know, that would happen with games, even people as good at this as Seth Killian worked on, where you're like, as soon as it hit contact with the community, in 2 days they had like, oh, you can do this infinitely, and this is broken. And it's like, well, why didn't you find it? So, well, because there's 10 people testing this at Capcom, and now there's a million people play. Yeah, you're gonna find some stuff. So I'm sure that's part of it. And as long as they're actively on top of it, you know, it'll be fine.
For the record, that is absolutely true of Riot.
I'm sure
I've been told by at least 3 former Riot employees that is their tactic to generate revenue.
Also, maybe part of it is I don't want to believe that Nintendo would use Riot-style tactics, but like, they are a business.
Yes, they are.
But if they were like that, I think you'd see some more ruthless behavior in their mobile games, and it's just not there.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Let's see. Next up, this was kind of a shocker to me. Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, is coming to Switch.
It was a shocker to me because it's the best thing they announced in the whole Direct.
I mean, it's the best Xenoblade.
Oh, it's the best RPG of last generation.
And
I'll take you one further.
So it's been released for
the Wii and the
Wii
3DS.
Wait, not Wii U?
You could get the Wii version on the Wii U, like is on the shop.
Right.
Like, it was basically the Wii version running on the Wii U.
Yeah, and then the 3DS.
The 3DS,
which had to run on the new 3DS.
The new 3DS only.
Yeah.
And is basically it damaged my eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real. It's like, if you want to know, I mean, I love this game. I think this is the best RPG of last generation. I think certainly the best JRPG of last generation. It is by far the best Xenoblade game. It's not even close. I'm thrilled they're bringing it up and like, you know, they're giving it a full like remaster makeover. The character models are redone. It means like you won't have to play it on Dolphin anymore to get a decent fucking image quality out of the thing. Yeah. Because it's gorgeous on the emulators.
Yeah,
like it is astounding. I mean, the Wii, literally the Wii couldn't output a picture good enough to do justice to most of its games.
Yeah, the GameCube, same thing.
Yes.
I mean, it's basically the same hardware.
Well, yeah, but the GameCube had a better digital out.
Yeah.
Like GameCube had better image quality in terms of video output than the Wii ever did.
Yep.
Which is why
that's because the Wii was designed to be used with RCA cables.
Right. Like if you play it through the digital out on GameCube, Metroid Prime looks better than it does on the Wii.
Yep, it's true.
There's a almost a comb filter on the Wii versions of things that are just not there on the GameCube through the component out. But I'm super happy this is coming because it's phenomenally good and
2020.
Yeah,
so still
by far the best open world in the Xenoblade series. Like, it's just exploring the place is really cool, and I'm just glad it's coming and more people are gonna get to play it because trying to play the 3DS version is like running your eyes over sandpaper. It's still a good game, but the system can't handle the visuals.
Oh yeah, surprise! Yeah. It's the 3DS. Next up, this one crushed my soul a little bit. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE is coming to Switch. This is a game that I have had sitting on my shelf factory sealed since it came out, hoping that one day it would be worth some amount of money. And now I can open it.
Yep.
Because it's being re-released on Switch.
I mean, this is good news, I think.
Yeah. I'm just being
the
selfish.
more and more the more stuff you can rescue from the Wii U, the better.
Yeah.
I mean, with this, you're basically at the point where, I mean, all you'd really need to bring in is the Zelda remasters and Wonderful 101. And
that's all that's left.
And I would be
Wonderful
pretty much
101 really is the big one left.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could bring Devil's Third in, but no one wants that.
No, let's just keep the value of that game high. But I was disappointed.
Imagine how valuable it would be if it was good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was disappointed because I literally didn't open this game because I was like, oh man, that game sold like crap. I'm like,
Well,
there's
actually,
probably like a million of them out there.
I guess I'd like to see Xenoblade Chronicles X make it over at some point.
Yeah.
The problem with Xenoblade Chronicles X is like it's so reliant on the gamepad.
No, that's true.
It would be pretty hard to do. But
yeah, I mean, look, there's a touchpad on the Switch.
Yeah, but it's the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm not playing that fucker portable, so.
Yeah, if you're having problems with your eyes before. For the record, though, Tokyo Mirage Sessions is a great game.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but it is worth playing.
You don't think it's great?
I got tired of it around 20 or so hours in.
I made it much further than that. But maybe it was the time that it came out. There wasn't anything else really kind of like it.
I mean, I like the music and I like it, but it's like, and I think there was sort of a friction on this game where like it was the game that neither fan base wanted, like because it's Fire Emblem and Shin Megami Tensei, and it was sort of like that wasn't really what we were expecting. I think people were expecting like a turn-based strategy, like Fire Emblem with Persona stuff in it, and it ended up being Persona with Fire Emblem demon cosplay, and it's like and with like a lot of pop idol stuff, which like I thought the music was actually good for the most part, but like
the pop idol stuff was what turned me off the most.
It's bizarre, and but I just ran out of steam on it after about 20 some hours, which is 20 hours.
Still 20 hours, yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, I played it much longer.
But I'm glad it's coming because I feel bad for these exclusive games trapped on the Wii that nobody gets to play.
Yeah.
And it's better. And now that they're on the Switch architecture, it means you'll be able to carry them forward to future systems. So it's all good news.
Yep. So I keep saying, no, wait, this is the biggest announcement. Because, again, this Direct was insane. But this probably is the biggest one as far as what fans were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal to me because it's what I prefer.
Yeah, so the Super Nintendo is coming to Nintendo Online.
Today,
yep. In fact, it's live right now.
Is it?
Yes.
Because it was going live later in the day, which is annoying the hell out of me. I was like, maybe I could play it in the morning.
Yeah, I thought it was like 5 p.m. Eastern. It was supposed to go live.
Something like that. Because it wasn't going live, I think, in Europe until like evening there, so it was going to be like late afternoon here.
People have been begging for this since the Switch launched, and here it is.
So, and there's a good lineup. Like I love that they're doing Earth Defense Force, which I've never played the Super Nintendo version of that because it's never been.
I've never either.
It's never been in English.
I honestly didn't even know that existed.
Earth Defense Force is an old series.
I did not know that there was an SNES version of that. I never.
Well, there wasn't. There was a Super Famicom version of it. We never got it.
Right. You know what I mean.
But like, yeah, it was very obscure until there it is, right there.
Yeah, look at that. That's crazy.
It's a good lineup. I mean, it's a solid kind of baseline.
Yeah, can you actually pause it right there, Jared, so we can look at the lineup and even take down the lower third for just a sec? So yeah, 20 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's no Super NES Classic, but I mean, you got the essentials.
Do you think the lineup for the SNES Classic is better?
A little bit. It's a little bigger.
What are the glaring omissions to you?
Well, Super Mario World, and Yoshi's Island are both there. I would like to see a Final Fantasy in there.
Yeah.
Probably 3/6, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I would like to see Chrono Trigger, which obviously was also not on the Super Nintendo Classic, but and I mean that might just be something that Square's not willing to let go because they know they can sell it separately.
How about Joe and Mac 2?
That's an interesting inclusion.
I'm really surprised it's in there. I mean, that's a pretty obscure game. Maybe that was the point, though. It's like most people haven't played it.
Yeah, I mean, you want a mix of stuff no one's heard of and stuff. I mean, I didn't realize people were so hot to play Stunt Race FX again, but here we are. So that's both FX chip games in this initial lineup between that and Star Fox. Demon's Crest is great. That's not a hugely well-known game, but I think it's got a good reputation. I don't know what Brawl Brothers is. I actually don't know what that is at all. I like it. That's good. I mean, I don't know if I'd include Super Tennis and Super Soccer, but you gotta, you want a variety, I guess.
I mean, the best news is if you're paying for Nintendo Online, $20 a year.
Yep.
There you go. All this stuff is free and
way cheaper than a Super Nintendo Classic.
Yep, way cheaper than the Classic. There's this new controller coming out that's a wireless SNES controller for $30.
Yeah. Although be aware you can get the 8-bit DOE Super Nintendo controllers for about the same, sometimes less, and they do work with the Switch.
Wait, that doesn't work with Switch?
It does, but like I'm just saying, you can get a better controller.
Oh, those are better than what Nintendo's selling?
I think they are.
Yeah.
Some of them have analog sticks, some have turbo features, some of them have like more buttons. Like,
interesting.
That's what I use on my PC when I play like old.
I've heard good things about that.
When I play like old old 16-bit stuff, or if I'm playing like indie games that like use the 16-bit style, I'll usually use one of my 8-bit DOE Super Nintendo controllers, and I also have a Genesis one for the Sonic and Sega All Super whatever the Genesis collection is on Steam. But they're a good option. But again, if you want that exact replica, like that's also cool. It's I'll probably get it.
They're also bringing online play to these games that have multiplayer. Some of the games are going to have like a pause and rewind feature.
Oh yeah, the Mega Man X game. That's kind of the problem. Is like the retro stuff is in play to the point that like you're probably never going to see Mega Man X on that service because the Mega Man X games have a collection for sale on the same system.
Right. Yeah. But that's a huge announcement.
Oh yeah.
People have been waiting for that for a long time. I'm hoping that this is it. Like this is what Nintendo is doing with Switch. I hope this is the end of it. This is the last Nintendo marketplace. And so once you have access to these games on Switch, whether you pay for them or you're a part of Nintendo Online, that's it.
And I hope they don't start over every time.
Right. Every console that comes out after this, if I get this stuff, I should have it forever. Like I shouldn't have to buy these games for like the 80th time.
And also like don't start over. Like if for the next system, like I don't want to have to wait for all these things to come out again. If it's the same way, but subscribe to the online service and you get access to this thing, start with everything you've released in the previous system and go from there. And I'm sure you're going to run out of games eventually, but eventually you're just paying for a library, and that's fine.
I mean, we should already be at the place with Nintendo's retro games where you and I already own them all on a service.
Pretty much.
Like, it's ridiculous that longtime consumers like us, longtime customers, fans, whatever you want to call it, we've been paying for this crap over and over and over again. It's got to stop. And I think we may have found the break point.
Yeah. And next up, the N64.
Yeah, that's a little more tricky, I think.
I think it'll happen. Although a bunch of people apparently thought it was going to happen yesterday.
Oh, they thought that was going to be.
They thought that was going to be announced because like they did the Banjo-Kazooie special video afterwards,
right?
And they thought that like they were going to the whole thing was that Banjo comes to Smash and then the old Banjo games come to Switch. And I was like, no, well, I don't think it makes sense at all. Like, I think those are pure Microsoft. Microsoft has them on their Rare Replay, and that's where they're going to stay. And sure enough, Sakurai in the video said if you should go to play Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie on the Xbox One. He actually told you to go play the old games on the Xbox One.
Well, that might have been part of the deal.
I'm sure it's part of the deal, but it's like you ain't getting those games on the Switch anytime soon, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, if and when inevitably the N64 Classic, some people were expecting was going to be announced or something. That's probably in the cards at some point, but apparently not this year.
Yeah. So there you go. SNES coming to Switch, which is a big deal. Now we're going to start talking about some of the updates to games that Nintendo's been promoting for a while. We're going to start with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Matt, all along, I have not been particularly enthused for this game. And I have to admit, the more I hear about it, the less excited I get for it. There's just no hook to this game.
Well, it's Pokemon. That's the
hook. It is.
But like this was an underwhelming set of reveals.
Two new Pokemon,
but it's like also you can change your clothes.
Yep.
And
customize your clothes.
You can go to Pokemon Camp. This one time at Pokemon Camp.
Yeah. Where you can train Pokemon.
And then you can make curry.
Yeah, there's a curry dex.
You can make 100 different kinds of curry, just like Pokemon fans have been demanding since the beginning.
Since the dawn of humanity.
And it's like you put 100 types of curry in a game, but you didn't get all the Pokemon in there?
Yeah,
like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not one of the hardline, has to have a full national Pokedex people, but this is not
Yeah, that's
This
not
is
a good...
questionable. It's not a good look, folks. Like you didn't get every Pokemon in this game, and then you're like, look at all the curry you can make. This ain't it, Chief.
Yeah, that's
like,
not a smart move, really.
Really...
Also, the Pokemon Camp is like kind of like the online functionality that they've unveiled so far. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have battles online. At least I hope so. But this is kind of the first online thing that they've shown for it, and it's not particularly compelling.
Also, and you saw they also showed Game Freak's other game, Little Town Hero.
Oh, they showed Town?
Yeah.
I missed that.
They had a little thing. They showed how the combat works and stuff like that.
No, I missed it.
Like you fight using ideas, and not like. But the thing is, that game looks better than this one graphically.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably happening in a smaller area, but I thought that was weird that like.
It's so crazy, dude, that you have a Curry Dex. Who told them this was a good idea?
I mean, I love curry.
So everybody does, but this is where a game being made in Japan goes off the rails a little bit.
Food porn is a big deal in Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I was in Final Fantasy 15 too. Like the best looking stuff in Final Fantasy 15, which was not a bad looking game by any stretch. Yeah. The best looking stuff was all the food.
It was the food, yeah. It's like mind blowing.
Like I would continually stop that game to go eat.
Yeah.
Because of that. Like, it was
I mean, look, character customization isn't like some new thing.
No. And they spent a minute and a half
showing
this. Like, no kidding, dude. Welcome to 2006.
Well, remember the last trailer they were talking about, oh, you can buy, and now they're doing it again. You can buy clothes. It's like, yo, bro, every game does that. Your games have done that already. Like, again.
I mean, it's never been this extensive before, but it seems like it feels like you're running out of stuff to talk about at that point.
Again, I'll play this for 50 or 60 hours. I know I'm gonna. I fully will admit it, but I will also say that there is nothing really compelling about this game.
It's Pokemon.
That's it, though.
That's all it is. It's a first console Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Full-fledged mainline Pokemon game.
Let's see. Next up, The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening. They didn't show much of this. They just basically talked about...
Yeah, I actually looked away during this part and missed it very much.
Yeah, they didn't show it for very long. Basically, there's a new amiibo coming that's based on the character design, or as I like to say, the dentist from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, he does look like the dentist elf.
So a new amiibo featuring him, but the big story really was that the dungeons that you create in the game, you can save them to amiibo. You can save them to any Zelda amiibo, and then there was one other set of amiibo you could save them to. I can't remember right now what it was. But there's two different set of amiibo that you can save your dungeons to and then take them to someone's house and share them or whatever.
So something I'll never do.
Yep, or me either. Because that means I'd have to go to someone else's house to play video games. Yeah. And I can't remember the last time I did that. I honestly cannot remember the last time I drove to someone's house to specifically play video games.
Well, maybe people do that to my house sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I have them all.
Yeah.
But I think the last time I did that was back in the heyday of Street Fighter IV when I would go to people's houses and play casual matches.
It's crazy. I cannot remember the last time I did that, Matt.
Online.
They used to be a staple of my life.
Yeah.
Like every night.
Oh, yeah. They used to be every
I go to someone's
day.
house to play something, or they come to mine, or whatever.
In the 32-bit era, that was like every night.
Yeah. Totally. Like the N64 era.
F-Zero 64 till the sun came up. I got my car towed once because we were playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater until the morning, and I was parked illegally and didn't realize it.
Even the Dreamcast, even though you could play it online.
And then when that happened, the tow place wasn't open yet, so we just went back and played more Tony Hawk until the tow place opened.
That's funny. But anyway, Link's Awakening is coming.
That was 20 years ago this month.
Yep. Link's Awakening is coming soon. So at this point, they really don't need to announce much more. I wasn't that surprised or disappointed by that. Next up, Luigi's Mansion 3. They showed 2 new floors of the hotel. And again, for those of you who don't know, each floor of the hotel has a different theme. They showed 2 brand new floors, so 2 brand new themes that are going to be in the game. And then they showed a brand new multiplayer party mode called Scream Park. You can play it with 2 to 8 players on one Switch, but you'd have to bring extra
all the Joy-Cons
to make it happen. Do you think it matters that they have like multiplayer party modes for?
Not to me, but I mean Mario.
Do you think in general it'll help with sales? Do you think it matters?
Probably not. It's just an extra value add.
Right.
You know, like
but does it really add value that will translate into revenue for Nintendo?
I don't know.
I mean, probably not.
I mean, I can't see that being the thing that finally pushes someone over the edge on this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a collection of like 3 very simple party.
Yeah, it's kind of a
mini
Mario
games.
Party with a Halloween theme, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. And this game is coming out on October 31st, so Halloween.
Yeah.
I am very, very excited for this game. I think way more excited than just about anyone else that I've met. I don't know why. It doesn't seem to be resonating with anybody else. I mean, I played it at E3, so maybe that helped, but I'm way more excited for this game than it seems like pretty much anyone else is. And this is someone who reviewed the first one for GameSpot and then was mercilessly raked over the coals by Nintendo fanboys for about 2 years afterwards. So
Would you only give it like an 8.7?
I gave it like a 7.5 or something.
That feels about right for the first one.
Yeah, look, in hindsight, I think I nailed the score. But everybody else gave it way higher scores than
Because
that.
the only thing they had to play on the system at the
Yeah,
time.
and it was gorgeous at the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I think this looks great,
It
too.
is. Oh, yeah. This game. Did you see that one scene where he's vacuuming up the
fog?
fog?
Yeah.
Dude, I think this is people are going to freak when they play this game. I know everyone's blowing it off right now, but when the rubber hits the road, you're going to play this game.
I mean, I find this... I mean, I'm not a huge Luigi's Mansion fan, but I do find this more interesting than any of the horror games coming out in October.
Ah, good point. That's funny.
I mean, at least this one's not trying to scare me with bullshit. It's trying to entertain me.
Yeah, I think this game is going to pleasantly surprise a whole lot of folks come Halloween.
I mean, it's certainly not in my top 10 list or anything, but I'm going to play it.
Yeah. It is.
Honestly, that shot where he vacuums the fog up is selling me better than anything else in the game. I don't know. I'm like, I mean, because the first game had a lot of really cool environmental tricks in it too. So I'm like, interested, you know,
Look, he just pulled it up right there. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I think by the time
I should be done with the Ghostbusters remaster by this point.
That's
so
true.
Like, why not?
I think by the time the game gets here, I think other people are going to agree with me and they're going to be excited for it. My biggest disappointment, though, as much as I'm not enthused by Pokemon Sword and Shield,
Animal Crossing Fire Festival.
Animal Crossing New Horizons.
This is Fire Festival. You get to an island and some weirdo's trying to sell you a tent.
Okay, you want to talk about a new entry in a franchise that really has no hook whatsoever or no compelling reason to buy it versus an older version of the game? Here you go.
But you can replant trees now.
Oh my, dude. This trailer, by the way, is like 5 minutes long, and it's basically like, hey, here's all the stuff you've been doing in Animal Crossing for the last decade.
Why does your character run like Naruto?
Yeah, with his arms out.
His arms out, yeah. Like,
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Are they ninjas?
I mean...
Is that the twist? There is no twist.
Yeah.
The twist is there is no twist. You owe a raccoon endless amounts of money, and then he makes you download his app.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, and your very own Nook phone. I don't know. I refuse to I cannot find a hook for this game. I cannot see anything unique about it that makes me want to play it any more
I guess the hook is it's Animal Crossing on the Switch.
And
that's it.
And 4 people can live on your island locally. 8 can live on your island online.
But you can play. I think you can play together with 8.
Yeah.
Like all visit at the same time.
All on the island at the same time.
And then like you can have 4 separate games on the same Switch.
Yeah.
Which is what I got out of it.
Again.
A lot of crafting.
Yeah.
I made a flimsy axe.
Yay!
Yay, everybody applaud for the flimsy axe.
Pre-order sold!
I mean, there's clearly some Minecraft influence happening here.
Yeah, of course.
But in a way, because I don't remember crafting being I mean, finding stuff and collecting stuff was a big deal.
But then using
the
that
crafting
to make
things
stuff
was not really a big. It was earning money to buy stuff.
I think Nintendo's missing why people liked Minecraft, though. It's not because they're crafting stuff together. It's because they're building stuff.
Yeah. Being able to move the bench around is not the same thing.
It's not the same thing as building something from scratch with a bunch of blocks or whatever. So I also have really pissed off that this game is rated by the ESRB now. It's done. Like, this game could have come out this year, and instead they delayed it. The crazy part is...
I don't know if that's done. I mean, they'll rate stuff. They rate stuff not necessarily on the whole game, but as like you submit... I mean...
It has to be the final certified version, or the ESRB won't rate it.
I don't think that's true anymore.
Well,
I think,
at the time it will be. Some publishers have gone back and got games recertified, but then it has to be rated by the ESRB again.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like it's pretty safe to rate this one.
E, mild comic mischief.
Yeah, you're going to give this one an E10 maybe.
I don't know what it would have to do to get an E10. I can't even imagine what
Ruthless capitalism. That's Tom Nook put this one over the top.
That would be the ESRB.
Ruthless capitalism and enslaving his nephews. That'll be what the adult content is.
But again, I know I'm going to play this game, and I know I'm going to play it an unhealthy amount.
Well, you have fun with that. Because
you actually have bailed.
Holy shit, do I not care about this.
You actually have bailed on Animal Crossing.
I've played
still
Animal
have
Crossing for many
I
installments.
still play them. And the thing is they come out
the last
so
one I played
infrequently.
The last one I played, I think, was the first DS one.
Yeah.
And the thing that pulled me in on that was because it had online finally.
Oh, the leaf shaking. That was one of the new features that I picked up on. There's wind and the leaves.
Oh, the leaves shake because of the weather. Yeah, wow.
Weather and shaking leaves.
Hey, if you want to see trees shake, just buy The Witcher for the Switch.
Yeah.
That's got the best tree shaking animations of the generation, I promise.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Which, by the way, oh boy, the footage of that.
Yeah.
It was like my eyes were going bad or something.
Yeah, you're like, I know I need glasses.
Oh my god, it's so, what am I looking at?
So anyway, Animal Crossing on the same footing as Pokemon for me. I know they're going to be good. I know I'm going to play them. I'm just not excited for either one of them. And then came the big deluge of third-party announcements from Nintendo, and it was a deluge. We're not even going to include them all. I just kind of included like the really big ones. The biggest of all is Rogue Company.
Is it?
Well, it's not. Maybe.
Holy, because wow, did that just not register with me at all? I mean, I know it's a battle royale game or whatever, but it's like, woof.
It's a battle royale game. It's not just a Switch game. It's coming to all platforms, although it was debuted in the Direct, so I think people initially thought it was a Switch exclusive.
God,
it's not.
Why don't you just start calling these games, we're not Fortnite?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mean, they've just... It's really crazy, man, how shamelessly it's been ripped off. I mean, PUBG, really, is what's been ripped off the most.
I mean, Fortnite kind of had the advantage of like looking completely different.
Yep.
And like now this is just sort of like it's various like all the battle royale games after it seem to be like a permutation of like, well, how far in which direction are you going to take?
Yeah, is it PUBG or is it Fortnite? Fortnite, and where in the middle are you situated?
Yeah,
that's pretty. And this is like right in the middle, I think. Because it looks like it's smack dab in the middle of PUBG and Fortnite. I mean, it looks okay. I mean, do we need more Battle Royale games?
I don't.
I mean, does anybody?
I don't even have any.
I mean, after Apex Legends.
Apex Legends is hard to beat for me.
Because it is like the perfect middle.
Yeah, well,
and it's a great game.
It feels good to play.
And it does, yeah.
And I don't find that to be true of a lot of the...
I mean, do you think there are people out there that just play every Battle Royale that comes out?
I mean, I know a couple of them.
Yeah?
But they always go back to their favorite after a while.
Yeah.
You know, you always settle back with whatever is your preferred game. And some people have, started with PUBG and moved on to Fortnite and then moved on to Apex, and they still go back to Apex, and Apex is their sort of default now. But I don't think, I have a hard time looking at this and thinking like, oh yeah, this could turn it around for some. It's like so much of it is just generic stuff, and even if it isn't generic, I mean, Radical Heights was not a generic visual, but it still didn't catch any kind of heat. So
yeah, because it was a terrible game.
Well, because it was,
and it wasn't even finished.
It wasn't even an alpha.
It was like broken.
I mean,
it was a piece of crap. What bothered me the most about that announcement, it's from Hi-Rez, the holders of the Tribes IP. So anytime Hi-Rez does something new that's not related to Tribes, I get a little testy over it. So,
I mean, a Tribes Battle Royale would probably have some juice on it.
You would think. Probably more than that. Generic. That kind of looked like Radical Heights, really.
There's a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't quite have the neon splash of the 80s like Radical Heights did, but kind of the same tone. Next up, Assassin's Creed The Rebel Collection. It is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and Assassin's Creed Rogue rolled into one package for Switch.
I mean,
is there any interest in this for whatsoever, do you think?
I mean, probably. Like I mean,
they're not bad games.
These are two
Black
of the best.
Flag is
these
great.
are two of the best games. I mean, in fact, I would say Rogue is better than Black Flag.
Really?
I love Rogue.
I don't think I go that far, but
I think Rogue's setting is more interesting because it's more in the north in the Arctic. And I think Shay is a really interesting character because he's a traitor, and it's a game that finally questions who's the bad guys and who's the good guys, and it does it pretty effectively.
Yeah,
I think if you haven't played either of them, they're both absolutely worth playing. Way more so than 3. Black Flag, I think, saved the series for me to some degree because it finally gave me a reason to play again. I really didn't like the direction 3 went gameplay wise, and this one gave you the ships, and it's kind of annoying whenever they make you get off the ship. That's one of the reasons I like Rogue better, is because Rogue does not make you get off the ship as much,
right?
And when it does, it's short.
Yeah.
But like they're both absolutely worth playing if you for some reason have never played them before and would like to play them on a tiny screen at 30 frames per second.
If you're lucky, 30 frames per second.
Because otherwise, I guarantee you they run better on every other platform.
Everything. Probably even better on iPad if they put them out on iPad for iOS.
But at the very least, Assassin's Creed 3 on Switch had really bad audio issues. And they just patched them, and the same company did Assassin's Creed 3 port and did the Dark Souls port, which also had audio issues. And Ubisoft had them fix the audio on Assassin's Creed, and Dark Souls, it looks like, is never getting fixed. So Ubisoft at least cares about the quality of the stuff they're putting on the Switch. And so if you're interested in playing this on the Switch, then I would say it's worth supporting just because Ubisoft has shown that they care.
Yep.
And these are good games.
And we're going to run through the rest of these real quick because we're running out of time and we want to get to Q&A because we have to give away some beta codes to you guys. Divinity Original Sin 2 coming to Switch.
It's out.
Oh, it's out. That's
Dropped
right.
yesterday.
Right.
Shadow dropping. I dig a shadow dropping.
The Return of the Obra Dinn. You guys may be wondering what the hell that is. It's that crazy, awesome indie game that we showcased in our Game of the Year awards last year. Makes perfect sense. Indie games sell great on Switch. Obra Dinn is a great indie game. We highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out before, if you're only a Switch owner. It's really unlike anything else you've ever played. This may have shocked you, Matt. Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast.
The only thing that shocks me is that people will not let this terrible game go.
Yeah.
But I mean, it went backwards compatible on the Xbox One. It didn't.
Yeah.
Jedi Academy did,
right.
Which is also coming to Switch next year.
Oh, I missed that somehow.
And but I mean, I hate this game. I think it's terrible. I think Kyle Katarn is a complete waste of a character, and I wish they'd just let the EU die. There are people who think that they're pushing this again because they're going to bring Kyle Katarn back somehow, which I guess fine if you need a Jedi who looks like Alex Trebek. He's probably the only option. But I always hated this game just because it was you spend all this time playing a normal shooter and you get the lightsaber, and then you go to the next level is a bunch of snipers you can't use the lightsaber against. It's old school Raven level design, find the Switch level design, which I find tedious as all hell.
Speaking of find the Switch level design, Doom 64.
Doom 64 also, on the same level.
Do we need this?
I don't.
Does anyone?
Maybe. I don't know.
I feel like this was like Bethesda signed a deal.
You people wanted N64 games on the Switch. Here you go.
Yeah. I feel like this is like Bethesda signed a deal with Nintendo for X number of games.
I think that's very possible.
And they're like, oh, we need our 5th game. Well, there's Doom 64.
They also put out the old Dooms on the other platforms just recently, so it makes sense. Like, this is the Nintendo-specific Doom.
Right.
Like, it's not out of complete left field.
It's not a terrible game.
No, it's Doom.
I mean, looking in hindsight, it's pretty shocking they put out a Doom for the N64.
Yeah.
And then lastly, and there were some others.
I mean, hell, StarCraft came out for the N64.
That's true.
It was a wild
Think
time.
about that. That's pretty nuts. And then lastly, and again, there were other things, but we couldn't talk about them all. Vampire, which is an action RPG from Don't Nod.
Yeah.
One of our favorite indie developers.
It's worth playing.
It's definitely good and worth playing. I think a lot depends on how much they sell it for.
Yeah, you skipped one of the big things.
What?
Deadly Premonition 2.
Oh, I didn't think it was that big.
That's huge.
I didn't. I mean, I skipped it on purpose. I didn't think it was that big a deal.
No, that's one of the probably the number 3 thing for me in the whole.
Oh, really? So I apologize.
Deadly Premonition 2 and Shadow dropping a remaster of the original the same day.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love those games. They're garbage, but like they're great garbage.
Well, now you know why I skipped them.
but they're so fun. Like they're just Twin Peaks. It's not even fan fiction. It's pretty much infringement. But
it is.
It's so much fun. Isn't that right, Zach? Yeah. If you haven't played Deadly Premonition, like you're missing out. Don't expect it to be good.
Yeah.
But I
think good would be a stretch.
It's sweary, so it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever played, and there's just charm to it from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Like it's
you can definitely tell he made it.
Yes.
For sure.
No question.
But anyway, that's it, the Nintendo Direct. What kind of letter grade do you give that Nintendo Direct?
I'm going to give that an A-.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That's impressive, man.
If you'd shown me Breath of the Wild 2, I'd give you an A. If you showed me Metroid Prime 4, I would give you an A+.
Yeah.
But you're showing all this stuff. You filled in the rest of the fall. You filled in some stuff to look forward to for early next year. You shadow dropped a bunch of stuff the day of. Like you gave me what I wanted. You gave me some stuff to look forward to. Like I don't know what else. I mean, not all of it's something I want to play, but I felt like that was a solid rollout of a whole bunch of stuff that like covered the next like 6 months. With
and
something for everyone.
They'll do another direct in like a month. It's crazy.
Like, I think they're killing it.
Killing it. They are killing it. I've never seen Nintendo like this. Maybe ever.
No, I mean, this is like that, like the feeling you got when you went to that 2004 press conference and Reggie said we're about kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah.
Except instead of just lasting for the hour of that press conference, it's lasting for like all year.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's crazy.
So I think they're doing great.
It.
Even the stuff that I'm not interested in, I'm like, yeah, that fits. It works. You're rolling it out. It's right there. There's something for everyone at least once a month. Like it's what a game console should be.
Welcome to peak Nintendo sifters. You've never seen it. You may never see it again.
I
waited a long time.
Not since the Super Nintendo days, really.
It's pretty crazy. It's great to see. I mean, I'm very happy to see Nintendo being this successful. Mm-hmm. So there you go. A- from both of us for that direct. It's time for our trailer of the week. And I'm sure if you guys have been paying attention to the news this week, you're going to wonder why we didn't discuss the game that we're about to share for the trailer of the week. Truth of the matter is, I just didn't feel like we could have a long discussion on it, but I wanted to get it into the show, and that is Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. Before we roll the trailer, though, I want to give you like kind of the lowdown on it. The game is actually available right now. If you buy the Founders Edition for $30, you get it for 6 weeks before the game actually comes out. And then 6 weeks later, it comes out for $40.
Yeah.
So you get it for $10 cheaper. You get 6 weeks of content with rewards. And then all that carries over when the final game releases for $40. So anyway, it's a pretty sweet deal. I kind of thought this game might just be free to play. Didn't work out that way. It's Electronic Arts. But anyway.
It's interesting to me that they don't call it Garden Warfare 3.
Yeah. Again, like once I found out it was like some other subtitle, I'm like, okay, well, it's definitely free to play then. But nope. You got to pay for it. It's not full price, though. But anyway, let's roll the debut trailer.
Welcome to Neighborville, where from town center to the weirding woods to the trails of Mount Steep, a battle is always raging. New plants, new zombies, and new turf. This is your first look at Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville. You'll begin your battle in the world's social regions. These hubs are the gateway into Neighborville, and a great place to connect with friends, find new allies, and try on a new look. Let's meet the new recruits. New team play classes let you join up with your friends and fight together as one unstoppable unit. Meet Oak and Acorn. Or bring your cadets together and form a space station. Now you can play on your friends and with your friends in split-screen co-op in every mode. Team play classes are powerful, but if you go down, you all go down. As a team! Let's meet our new damage dealers. The 80s action hero. He'll vanquish you with his bow, then zing you with an unintelligible one-liner. So gnarly. Snapdragon launches fireballs that will seek out zombie kindling. Burn. Electric Slide will dance her way into your hearts. Her electrified attacks can clear any dance floor. Don't blink, or you'll miss Nightcap. Master of Shadows. She gets in close for her devastating Fung Fu takedown. Head-to-head combat is at the heart of Battle for Neighborville. Spread across 12 unique maps, there is something for everyone. Go intense in the Thunderdome, home of the all-new Battle Arena where 2 teams enter and 1 team leaves. Go big in up to 24-player matches. With countless objectives, whatever you do, please stop Dr. Zomboss from launching a lighthouse into orbit? Reload and jump into the fray at Giddy Park, a drop-in, never-ending carnival of headshots. The battle for Neighborville doesn't stop there. Hop on a train, submarine, or flying bus and explore strange and dangerous free-roam regions. Quest, collect, and discover as you battle an entire forest. Join a pie-eating contest. Make friends with an insecure washing machine. Crash a dance party. Fight inside your own zombie mind. Survive gnomish temples. Lead a zombie parade. Give a lawnmower a style makeover. And politely decline to hacky sack with this guy. You know, just your average day. The battle for Neighborville is just getting started. With countless ways to join the fight, one thing is clear. This war is just about as weird as you. I mean that in the best possible way.
So Matt, I have a feeling I'm gonna have to jump on that grenade. I don't see you
not.
playing that one.
No, I'm honestly kind of physically repulsed by that franchise. I don't really know what.
Even
it is.
like the OG tower defense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't like the art
The art
style.
and everything. I'd agree with you. I don't think it's compelling, but I think we're definitely in the minority. I mean, look how huge
guess.
Plants vs. Zombies was at one time.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'd call it. Is this huge? This series?
I mean, I think the last one sold like 3-4 million, something like that.
I mean, that's a good. What was it? One of the questions Majora Tom already asked. What do you think is going to sell better, that or Need for Speed Heat?
That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't. That might be a dead heat right there. I think they're both going to top out in like kind of around the 3 million mark, right?
I think Need for Speed will outsell it. Actually,
You think?
I think this Need for Speed will
I actually
outsell
don't
it.
know too much about how Need for Speed sells. All I know is that like it shouldn't keep getting chances if they keep shutting down all these other games.
All you need to know is that you don't know how well it sells, and that's because it's not selling.
Because they don't announce
very
the
well.
number. Yeah.
So anyway, hey, before we get into the Q&A, we're going to do our little mini quiz here to give away 2 beta codes, closed beta codes for Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The beta starts tomorrow morning. The codes that we're going to send you, you can use to redeem for any platform. So PC, Xbox One, or PS4, you go to a website, and we'll send you all this information. You go to a website, you put the code in that we give you, then you pick your platform, and then it gives you the code for your platform. So again, any platform except for Switch. If you're not interested in playing the beta, if you hate shooters or whatever, don't take the code from somebody who will want to play it. Don't take it just because you're getting something free. Let's be civil here. Let's give it to someone who actually wants to play the game. The way it's going to work is Matt has a question for you, and I have a question for you. And really, whoever answers first in the chat is going to get the code. And we only have 2. I know it may be a race to see who can Google it the most quickly, but if you know it off the top of your head, you're probably going to win the code. So, Matt, you have the first question. Let it fly. Oh, wait, actually, before we begin, we'll see who wins on here. Make sure that you friend us so that we can DM with you guys and send you the code after the show is over. So, Matt, here we go. On your guard, people. What is the first question?
Should I do the one that's related to Tom Clancy or just a weird one?
Whatever you want.
Because the Tom Clancy one is a matter of some opinion, so I think I'm gonna switch to the other one.
Okay.
Get your Google fingers ready. And this has nothing to do with Tom Clancy, so this is just me pulling out something that I know and you probably don't. In the IDW Transformers universe, what is the name of the old Cybertronian faction that believes that what you do for your job should be determined by what you turn into?
Ooh, that's not easy. Let's see who gets it first. All right, we got a live feed of the chat here.
We might want to move on to your question while people look things up on the various wikis.
It may take them like 20 minutes to find the answer to that. Mine is much easier and more closely related to just general video games. Yeah, we still don't have an answer. Maybe you should repeat the question again.
I killed everybody with how nerdy that question was. In the IDW Transformers universe, what is the name of the old Cybertronian faction that believes that what you turn into should determine what your job is?
That's a tough one. I don't know the answer to it. Bueller. Bueller.
Show's only got like 15 minutes left.
Yeah,
folks.
you guys better hurry up. They don't even know how to Google it. Oh man, we may have like the post game have to award this.
Do the other one. Yeah, do the other one. We'll come back to it.
Okay, mine is much easier. All right, so my question is, and I think someone will just know this off the top of their head, so get ready to type. Get your fingers at the QWERTYs. What was the first game that Rockstar released for the Nintendo 64?
I don't think I know that.
Yeah, you do.
Do I? I mean, I'm sure I know the game, but I don't know which one it is. It is not the Quintessons.
Nope. Wow. Nope. Keep guessing, guys.
Body Harvest was by DMA, who made GTA, but it was not Rockstar. That's a good guess, though. That was the first game that entered my head when you asked that.
Nobody can get these. No, not Monster Truck Madness.
I'm trying to think of the games that Rockstar published on that, and I mean, that should be a pretty quick Google, though.
Yeah. What is that buzz? That's like
text messages.
Oh, it's like the incorrect buzzer. Nobody knows.
Ultracons aren't a thing.
Maybe my question should have been phrased differently. Maybe I should have said DMA Design instead of Rockstar. No.
Well, I mean, they weren't Rockstar then, DMA.
They were, though.
Well, they weren't called Rockstar.
They were. Like, I have a ROM of this game, an N64 ROM of this game. Have you seen N64 ROMs? They're cartridges, but they're this long. And it has Rockstar on it. And their logo and everything. All right. I'll rephrase it then.
Well, like, did Rockstar publish it then?
I guess it did, yeah.
Yeah, because DMA wasn't Rockstar until after GTA 3.
Yeah. So I guess I'll rephrase it. What was the first DMA design game released for the N64?
I know.
It's not Earthworm Jim 3D.
This is another game that's been lost to time. That came out before Body Harvest?
What?
The answer to this? That came out before Body Harvest?
Yeah.
Body Harvest was supposed to be a launch game, got delayed for years and years.
We thought this was going to be so easy and quick. Smuggler's Run didn't come out for N64 Tomb Raiders. This is crazy. Yes! No, it didn't come second. Too Quick Capri. You got it right. Space Station Silicon Valley.
Did it? I swear Body Harvest came out before that.
I know it was supposed to.
It was supposed. I mean, I know that, but like October 21st, 98.
Bunko Blast Court was a rare game.
Yeah. Really good.
Great one.
Really good rare game.
Yeah. All right.
No, Body Harvest came out first.
Did it?
A month earlier.
Okay. Well, then whoever answered Body Harvest first is going to get the code.
Yeah, Body Harvest was September 30th, 98. Silicon Valley was October 21st.
Okay. A bunch of jerks. You win the code. How perfect. Is that in reference to the Carolina Hurricanes? A bunch of jerks?
I've seen that name before.
Some dumb hockey dude in Canada called the Hurricanes a bunch of jerks because they celebrated after they won games, and then they took hold of it and made like T-shirts called a bunch of jerks and like lighting shows that said a bunch of jerks. Okay, so a bunch of jerks. Make sure that you friend us, and we'll make sure that we get back to you and we'll get you the code. All right, Matt, nobody can answer your question. Do you have another one that's maybe easier?
I'll do the more standard Tom Clancy one because this way people can probably just name Tom Clancy books and eventually get it.
They'll get it right.
According to popular belief, a lot of fans believe, what is believed to be the last Tom Clancy book that Tom Clancy wrote himself?
There you go. That's an easy Google.
By himself, without any, without a co-writer, without a ghostwriter. because he didn't write any of that shit for the last like long period of his life. But the widely believed last Tom Clancy book that was all Tom Clancy.
A bunch of jerks. You won a beta code for Ghost Recon Breakpoint
For this weekend.
for this weekend. Yeah,
It's not Hunt for Red October.
it's not executive orders. You can't win again.
Although Hunt for Red October is probably the book that eventually let him stop writing them himself, because he made a lot of money off that.
A bunch of jerks you can't win again. Stop guessing. Oath of Office, no. Command Authority, no.
God, there's a lot of Tom Clancy books.
We may sit here until tomorrow. We're already going over time. We haven't answered
Like
any
you could
questions.
just be like name arbitrary political military industrial name. Like it's just like
Come on, you're gamers. You should know this. Not Jack Ryan, not Cirque. You're gamers. You should know this. That's the biggest hint I could ever give you. This is
why I said
hilarious.
it's a matter of opinion.
Red Storm, no.
Tomb
Rainbow
Raiders.
Six.
Tomb Raiders gets it.
Tomb Raiders got
It
it.
is widely believed by a lot of Tom Clancy fans that Rainbow Six is the last one he wrote all on his own.
There you go. Finally, we
Which, to be
waited
fair,
since.
that book's like 1,000 pages long. I'd want a break too.
It took so long to give away the codes, we can't even really do any Q&A. So you guys have to save all your questions for Tuesday. We are coming back on Tuesday.
The Transformers answer was The Functionists.
Ah.
Read the IDW Transformers comic books, folks. They're really good.
I would have never known that. I didn't know that at all. Davil124, thank you for subscribing. Let's see if I can find any other ones before we go here. Wampler13, thank you for subscribing via Twitch Prime. Latrudos, thank you for subscribing via Twitch Prime. All you guys are freaking awesome. That's it for GameFace 180. If you guys missed the early part of the show, tons of stuff going on behind the scenes and under the hood at Sifted. We know there are issues. We're fixing them. We're aware of them. But if you find any, send us emails to support@sifted.net. Another show coming up on Tuesday. We'll be talking Gears 5 and a bunch of other big stuff. Just wanted to get the show in for you guys since we missed Tuesday. So anyway, hopefully you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you online to play some Breakpoint. GameFace is up and out.